what it is you really do.
If that motherfucking intro don't tell you what this pod about to be about, I don't know what else does. I tried to pick a perfect song to uh represent my baby Haley. I didn't realize last night when the information was presented to me, I had absolutely no idea who my friend was talking about. Shout out to my best friend Kaylin. I had no idea that it was the hey, I didn't know her name like that. That's really what it was. I didn't know her name like that. So when the news came across to me, like I said, I was already. The thing was when she told me about Hayden Panettiere. Again, like I said, it threw me off guard. Number one, because I was literally 30 seconds from starting the birthday stream yesterday when that news came across. So again, my mind wasn't even in. Let me talk about who this is. I just had no idea. I had absolutely no idea at first, and then I started doing some digging. I said, "Oh, okay, now I know who this is." And I started remembering just the things that she was in, and it wasn't necessarily the Remember the Titan movie that I remembered her from. I didn't even think about her being in Remember the Titans, one of my favorite Denzel movies of all time. But the other things that she was in, like she had just been in different roles from different movies different shows that I actually liked. Not necessarily the ones where she was leading, but because I didn't watch Heroes. I had no idea about the show Heroes until Hayden Panettiere died. So I'm just being honest with that. And you guys know me for also being a YouTuber and a Twitcher. So I'm not necessarily fond of a lot of the movies and shows of today to even know. But rest in peace once again to Hayden Panettiere. Tonight I just wanted to, go through that last big interview she did with Jay Shetty and break down a couple of things that were in it. The first 15 minutes of that interview, I don't know about everybody else, but the first 15 minutes of that interview, I want to say 17 minutes of that interview, told me exactly who killed her. The first 20 minutes of that interview told me who killed her. And I'm hoping the rest of you will get the same thing. If you have not watched already, that thing has 2.6 million views now that Hayden Panettiere has passed. I do believe it's one of his most viewed. If I look at his channel, it is definitely one of his most viewed definitely one of his most viewed videos. Yeah, see, everything else has 100,000, 300,000. You got some things that are from years ago that are in the millions, but the Hayden Panettiere one was just 3 months ago and is already at 2.6 million. So again, Jay Shetty is not necessarily someone that is, he's not new to the game. We're talking about someone with 6 million subscribers. So he's not necessarily new to the game. He's definitely not a nobody. Okay, that she sat down with. That's one thing. The second thing is when she sat down with Jay, it was probably, I'm not even gonna say probably, it is literally her most vulnerable interview, as well as it's her most informational interview. Like out of all the interviews that she's done, this was the most telling one. Mainly because she was also going to be doing this. She was also going to be on her book tour when she did this. That was the other thing. She was on her book tour. She wasn't even on, she wasn't doing no regular movie and nothing like that. She was on her book tour. So the amount of things that she had that she got to uncover was, very telling to me. Let me adjust a couple of things here while I get this together. I didn't realize my damn thing was all the way over there. I'm like, shit. Just realized that. You get yourself together, camera. Get yourself together. There we go. Okay. I'm like, we are way too high up. I mean, way too low down. But yeah. So, anywho, want to see, that's another reason why I didn't want to jump my ass on here too early. Because if I jump on here like 10 o'clock or 9:30 or something like that, I was gonna be on here like 2 hours ago, like an hour and a half ago at least. But I was like, last night in the past couple pods I've done, I've noticed everybody doesn't show up until like 11:30, 12 o'clock. So I was like, all right, let me just wait a little bit. Let me just wait a little bit. All right, so I want to start with. Where can we start? I don't want to start with the 911 call. And I kind of didn't want to start with this, but we might as well start with the interview because it is a long interview and I want to go through most of it. And also, what do you call it? I want to get through most of this interview, but I do have a couple other things I wanted to look at aside from it that also were very telling, including this information that was about Diana Jenkins and James Blunt and the yacht party that she talked about in this interview as well. So, without further ado, this is the interview from Hayden Panettiere that she did with Jay Shetty.
I work
for her role. Just bring it up a little bit to about here, and then
news that we've seen. I wanted to start off by asking you, what's a childhood memory that you have that you feel defines who you are today?
God, got a laundry list I can think of off the top of my head, but really defines who I am. I think I've been really impacted by the people that I've gotten to work with, and especially when I was at very sensitive ages. Like when I think back to Remember the Titans, as you said, at 10 years old, that experience, that whole experience, everyone on set, and playing that character of Cheryl that felt so similar to who I was naturally as a person. I felt like that really shaped me, really shaped my.
So, real quick, just to bring you up a little bit to speed for those that aren't familiar, she has been a child star since she was 8 months old, pretty much. Her audition started when she was literally a baby. She wasn't even a year old yet. She was in commercial after commercial after commercial before she turned 5. Was already in soap operas before she turned 10. Like, she had I want to say, the true child star treatment and upbringing. And if you know anything about, Hollywood in the past and what has always happened, and I mean, you could easily say 90% of the child stars in Hollywood, they don't make it that long because of the different things that they have to overcome mentally and physically, mostly mentally. And the biggest strength is, of course, the mental overwhelmment that you have of being that child star, thinking that you're either there's children that already had the charisma and had sort of the ego early, but you have someone like Hayden who was pretty much just following directions from the moment she was able to speak her first words, just literally just following direction. Her mom put her in stuff very early on as a baby.
My perspective of the industry made me feel like now I know what kind of actor I want to be. I want to be generous and I want to be there for people, but this can also be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to read from your book, if that's all right.
Yeah, of course.
You say in the book that from a very young age, I lost the chance to have a normal childhood, friends, relationships, and my privacy, because instead of fighting it, I leaned into the talent I was somehow blessed with. And I wanted to ask you, what do you think a normal childhood looked like? And how was yours different from that?
Well, to me, a normal childhood looked like extracurricular activities. It looked like going to school, being in school all day long, having a social life and connection with your peers, going home, doing homework, having play dates, having friends over, having those kind of experiences. And even though I did get some of that because I had to live that life and had to be removed from it all the time, whether it was to go to auditions or to go to work. I constantly was missing out on the social aspect of what was going on with my, I mean, I was trying to be friends with them, but when you miss out, you know, and then you sit down, you really have nothing to talk about, because I only had my experience and what I did yesterday, which was I was on set or I was in the city doing an audition, and that wasn't something that I could expect anyone around me to understand. So I feel like I got a taste of what I saw, what a normal childhood would be. And I was on swim team, and I did do gymnastics, and, you know, occasionally I got invited to a birthday party, but a lot of the times I was left out. So it didn't feel like I had a normal childhood, normal upbringing. But to me, it was, just being able to be a kid.
Yeah. Did you recognize that then? Like,
I did. I remember school was very tricky for me, because here I was trying to fit into two different worlds, and I was dealing with this massive world, which is the industry, and dealing with big emotions, like what you feel after rejection or not getting a role, or a ridiculous amount of praise, an unhealthy amount of praise that you get at too young of an age. And then I had the world that I was desperately trying to fit into as well, that I was supposed to fit into, that it should have been easy to fit into, and I couldn't fit into that either. So I was like, where do I belong?
Yeah, it's hard when you're caught in between two different worlds, and you somehow, as a very young child, have to somehow make it look seamless and move through these worlds with taking emotions from this one into that and that one into this. And
and you don't want anyone to see you sweat.
Yes.
Either. You want to make it, you want to be cool, calm, and collected, because being overly emotional around your people that age, like my age, it doesn't go over well. And it doesn't go over well with adults either. So you have to like bottle up all of these emotions.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, it almost feels like when you're with your kids your age, you're just trying to fit in and be cool, but you're dealing with these emotions you're carrying over. And then when you're
David
with the adults,
Tarantino, what's going on?
To make sure everyone's happy and everything's going okay. And
yeah, I feel like the first time I really felt like I didn't fit in, though, was actually when I was in kindergarten, and it was brought on by the teacher not liking me. The opinions of the teachers and the way that the adults saw me was rubbing off on the kids. And I can only imagine what the kids' parents were saying about, you know, their children going to school with an actress at home. But yeah, I was bullied first by a teacher in kindergarten, and then it graduated to first grade was the first time I heard anyone say, raise their hand and say, why does Hayden get to miss school and we don't? And that was the first time I felt like, oh, it bothers them that what I do. And then middle school, which is treacherous as for anybody, but especially as a female, like girls are just really hard on each other. And it wouldn't help when the teacher would roll in a screen and say, hey, we're going to watch a movie during class, and everyone would get excited, and then they'd pop in Remember the Titans. And there I was trying to fit in and just trying to find a seat next to somebody who wasn't rolling their eyes or huffing and puffing about having to sit next to me. I was just trying to blend, and then they were popping that on, and I was just like, is this even legal? Like, can you do this to a kid? Is this child abuse?
Yeah. Was it ever clear what the reason the teacher who bullied you was, or did they ever?
I was going to say, because from the outside in, you start saying to yourself, okay, is that really bullying? But you kind of see the bigger picture of where it is kind of bullying, because it's like, why are you throwing on her movie specifically? You know what I mean? And I'm thinking about the actual time, of course. Yeah, she's, you know, a young kid in school, but this is around the time where the movie is actually like, you know, out and popular. It's not like the movie has been out for 10 years and she's just going to school. The movie is fresh and she's going to school while being a child actor, and you're playing her movie. And then I'm thinking about, back then versus now, like the average kid being in school with Hayden probably would have been excited. But I'm thinking about the time back then. It's kind of even weirder that she was in, and maybe the school system she was in. It's kind of even stranger that, kids were envious of her. Well, not strange that the kids were envious of her, but more so strange that they were mad to even be around her. That type of thing.
Have any interactions with your family or?
No, I mean, first of all, kindergarten is way too young to really do anything wrong. I mean, I remember the first time she ever bullied me was the very first day of kindergarten, and we were coloring, and they had the crayons in these wet wipe boxes, and they said, wrap it up, everybody close the boxes, and as being kids, it became a little bit of a race of who's going to close it first. And I went to close one, and another girl went to close it at the same time, and it went on her finger.
Yeah.
And I apologized profusely and felt horrible about it. And I remember her best friend walked up and said, "Yeah, but we have to tell on you." And my heart sank, and I didn't know how it was going to go. And they walked up to the teacher and told her, and I looked at her and I said, "It was an accident." And she looked right at me and she said, "Oh, it doesn't look like an accident to me."
Wow.
And I mean, at such a young age for that to that's stuck with me, all of these years later. Not all of my teachers were like that. There were teachers that were super supportive, but there was a substitute teacher who came in and she would call me the big cheese in front of everyone. And she said, "What, you think because you're an actress, you're the big cheese?" And that's so not who I was and so not who I wanted to be. So quite the experience trying to fit in. Disappointed in people. I really just wanted to, as you said, fit in. I wanted to be normal.
Like every kid does.
Like every kid.
Yeah, like all of us.
She wasn't even being uplifted when she was younger. If anything, everybody around her was pretty much envious of her and just downing her. She had nobody cheering her on, even her own family from early on. That's kind of fucked up.
Us too, and as someone, by the way you described it, I had a very normal childhood, and it's hard enough as it is, even when it's normal. And so when something's making you stand out or someone's pointing things out, especially as kids when we don't have a clue what's going on, and all the other kids in your class who wouldn't really understand how to make context of this, you need an adult to kind of make sense of it.
Yeah, and a lot of it I felt like it came out of left field. One of the things I'm sure you read in the book is that I kept the notes that were passed to me in school, the nasty notes, and I kept them in my binder and I kept them under my bed. And I think it was because I wanted to desperately to understand what they were seeing in me. And it started the habit of changing who I was to make others happy, to make them like me. And I thought if I could understand where they were coming from or what they saw or what they didn't like, that I could, maybe it was the actress in me and having been directed all my life, that I could change my performance a little bit and it would make them accept me.
Yeah, you also had you've talked about having the pressure to support and provide for your family as well, right? Did you always know that was your responsibility even then? Like when you're talking about this idea of performing, making sure everyone else is okay.
Right.
I wonder how much of it was something you had to do at home as well.
I want to make it clear that, my father was a lieutenant in the fire department and he had businesses. So I wasn't supporting the family, but I do remember being very young and my mom trying to explain to me that this corporation she set up paid for the cars, the lease on the cars and the cell phone bills because it was a tax write-off.
Right.
And I remember that role reversal being incredibly uncomfortable for me where I was, on one hand, I was still a kid and I was listening to my parents and had to do everything that they told me I could and could not do. But at the same time, I was working hard, making money, and this money was going towards things that I wasn't privy to. So as my dad would kick my butt if I made people think that I supported the whole family. But then when I got older too, and my mom bought an apartment for me when I was 16, and my whole family lived in it. So again, it was just that very strange, uncomfortable feeling of the role reversal and desperately wanting to still feel like the kid and still feel like I had parents to.
Big Money, what's going on, my brother? You missed the birthday stream yesterday. What's going on with you? So that's the crazy thing, right? So that's what I was saying. Like, she had 0 people cheering her on whatsoever. And for her to listen in on a conversation with her parents, and even her dad is saying, yo, don't tell nobody that you support the family, even though you the one that support the goddamn family, that's kind of fucked up. Not even kind of fucked up. That is fucked up to tell your child, hey, don't be telling anybody you support the family, because you actually do support the family. Like, why does that make you feel less of a man that your daughter is doing bigger things than you? That's a different level of insecurity when you're insecure of your own child. If you think about that, right? Like, you're envious of your own child that's actually supporting you. That's what's wild.
Lean on. I didn't want. Even when I was a kid, I was scared of the dark, and I would make my dad lay down next to me, and if his head ever went below mine, I would freak out and make him, sit up further because I wanted to feel like the kid. That is kind of continued on in my life, just wanting to know that if I found myself in a terrible position, that I could call somebody to help me. I could rely on somebody. I wasn't the only person. I wasn't the person that everybody else was relying on, and therefore nobody was there for me.
Yeah, I mean, and so natural, right? To want that and to seek that is so real and so natural, especially as a young child and kid. And then, of course, with everything else that you're taking on, there's nothing about that feels anything but what every child deserves and what every child wants. And,
No, see, that's the thing. And I don't mean to keep stopping this, but that's the thing, right? You have to separate that a little bit, because we're talking about a daughter. So, yeah, we're talking about a double standard where men are, I guess I'm coming for this part too. So I was just fixing something. But for men, in a sense, men are told to just, chin up. We're told to just stick it out. No, I mean, it's no babying really. Even from a younger age, we're told to just, man up. For a young woman, that security and safety is extremely important. And I think it was even a bigger failure by her father to not give her that safety that her mom already wasn't granting her, that she should have just already had. Like, her parents weren't even giving her that sense of security and safety all the time unless she actually asked for it.
Yeah.
Deeply is looking for. But I know in the book you also write about how there's this sense of what you were just saying about collecting all these notes and not wanting to almost let the kids down and become who they need you to be. It feels like that kind of became your relationship with your mom as well, where you didn't want to disappoint her.
Oh my gosh, that was my entire relationship with her. She was my boss. That's how I saw her. Even though she was the most supportive person when I, did what I was supposed to do and did it well and was the one cheering me on, it did feel like that was what I had to do to get her love. And that was, a tough pill to swallow. Everything was business. Everything was business focused. And I started at 8 months old. I can't even remember a time where she wasn't a momager. you know, where everything didn't revolve around business. And there were periods of time as I got older where we spent a lot of time traveling and on the road together, and I was the only person there, so I became the confidant. And
thank you, Big Money. Appreciate that. Nike, what's going on, my brother? So the mom, and this is why I said the first 20 minutes of this is going to tell you exactly who killed her. We're going to get through a lot of this interview, but the first 20 minutes of this tells you exactly who killed her. And she is starting to tell her killer right now. The momager that saw her as nothing but a check, pretty much. Hayden was just a check to her mom. Mrs. Cole, what's going on? Yes, rest in peace to Hayden. She was a big part of your childhood. That's the thing. She's a part of a lot of people. If you are, you know, if you're in your 30s, you know, or even in your younger 20s, she's definitely a part of your childhood. She's definitely most definitely a part of a lot of people's childhood. And it even broke my heart, the fact that she was a Leo as well, and her birthday was just Friday. Her birthday was literally this Friday. That's how you know. That was one of the key signs that I started to realize that this was a sacrifice, because her birthday was 5 days away. She died 5 days away from her own birthday. And in this interview, literally said that she had a burden lifted off her shoulders, and that she was in a happier place and had, you know, a lot more life to live. So of course they had to frame it as an accident. We'll get into that, but they had to frame it as an accidental overdose because she was not ready to go. She was definitely not ready to go. And I get the sense of even the momager thing, right? And how she never necessarily got the love from her mom and the sense of security and safety from her mom or her dad. But for her mom to be around her 24/7 and never give her the opportunity to just be her daughter is really fucked up. Because I start thinking of Joe Jackson. I start thinking of, I can put Matthew Knowles in that situation. Not necessarily saying I'm not allowing your daughter to be a kid, because from what my understanding was, he did at least allow Beyonce to be a kid at times. But if you listen to Beyonce herself, she says, you know, for the most part, it was work, work, work still. But she was she was so excited to be working and singing and dancing and doing what she loved that she didn't look at it like that. Versus Hayden, who, you know, her mom pretty much being around her all the time just didn't give her that at all. Just didn't give her that at all. And it's sad the way a lot of these manager parents, if you've heard in the past, a lot of the manager parents, some of them are, I'm not going to say all of them, but a good amount of them, you always hear the story about the one money hungry one. Whether it's the one that was the manager and their confidant, or it was the person that was envious and not around them that much. It's always one person that was always envious of them. And unfortunately, it was both of her own parents. Especially being that her mom was also, she doesn't necessarily talk about it here too tough, but her mom was in soap operas early on. So her mom actually stopped and gave up her acting career in general early on, and she actually just started living the career again in the Hollywood lifestyle through her daughter and getting her in auditions and whatnot.
And the assistant and the therapist and the shoulder to cry on and everything but her child.
Have you ever had the opportunity to tell her that and to have that conversation with her?
When I was 19, I finally got the guts got up the courage to split from her as business wise, because I desperately wanted a relationship with her, desperately wanted her to just be my mom. And so she came into my trailer during lunch when we were filming Heroes, and I said to her, I don't want us to work together anymore. I just want you to be my mom. And I remember being hopeful, but there was that part of me who knew her too well. But I also wasn't expecting the reaction that I got, which was, "You owe me." And that's all she said. And she walked out. And part of me was like, oh, I'm relieved that it was.
So thank you so much, Goldie Blue. Thank you so much, Goldie Blue, for that. I appreciate that. The thing that stuck with me with that was, and this is why I said, where we at? 16 minutes in. This is why I said, it ain't gonna take y'all but 20 minutes to know who killed her. And I'll even play it back again if you didn't catch it. She had a conversation with her mom about she didn't want her mom to be her manager anymore. Originals, what's going on? She didn't want her mom to be her manager anymore. And it's the other thing, right? It wasn't because she thought she was getting money hungry. It wasn't because she thought she was doing something shady. It was literally because she wanted to just have her mom, and she wanted to take the weight off of her mom's shoulders of being a manager. Because she wanted her to just be her mom. So we're not even talking about young adolescent, I guess you could say, we're talking about maybe preteen, teenager Hayden is saying, yo, I just want my mom right now. I don't want you to be my manager. I don't even want you. You could stop being my manager. Just stop. Give that to somebody else. I have plenty of people around me that can do that. I just want you to be my mom. And the response that your mom gives you is, fuck you. You owe me. Huh? That whole, you can cut the wind in the air from the tension with a butter knife. Like, it's so thick. Like, it's that whole, like, and like she said before, it's a different type of trauma that you feel when you just, the best way I could say it, right? Because I know some of y'all might not be able to relate to not having your mom in your life. And that's one of the things that I kind of relate to, is not having my mom in my life like that. And my dad, unfortunately, wasn't able to be in my life at all because he was dead by the time I was 3. So, but we won't get into that right now. But I didn't have a relationship at all with my mom. And I still vaguely remember, and the crazy thing is I remember telling her about this, and she was so shocked because she remembered the day, but she didn't remember what she said to me. And I've told this story in a pod before. I'll tell it just really quick so we can get back to this. I had got suspended from school for fighting my principal. My uncle that I was living with at the time, because I didn't live with my mom and my dad. I was living with my uncle, who, wasn't even my, biological uncle. He was just, to me, he was family, and to me, he's still my blood. I love him to death. Rest in peace to my Uncle Dave. Was taking care of me, and he had, of course, a little bit of a problem with the principal as well. So he didn't necessarily want to punish me that tough for what had happened with me fighting the principal, because once he figured out what actually happened, I won't tell the whole story of what happened, but once he figured out what actually happened with me fighting the principal, because he knew I wasn't just going to be fighting just the principal. He knew I had a problem with fighting, but I wasn't going to just fight the principal just to fight the principal. The principal did something to me, but my mom wasn't having it, just because she heard the fact that I got suspended from school and was fighting the principal. So, of course, she had a problem with it, but the biggest problem that came with it was, at the time, she already was not taking care of me. I didn't live with her. My uncle didn't throw that in her face, but you can tell my mom had that guilt of not raising me when she was speaking to him. And the only thing, I don't know their whole conversation, but the last thing that I remembered was hearing a loud bitch, and My uncle hung the phone up on her, and she called back, and he yelled upstairs and said, "Your mom is probably calling back right now. Pick up the phone. I don't want to talk to her no more." So I pick up the phone again, and she says to me, "You act like you're not my son. I don't want to be your mother anymore," and hangs up the phone on me. That has stuck with me for almost 20 something years. Still to this day, that sticks to me, that was said to me. Now, of course, I've had the conversation with my mom after the fact. Years later down the line, I had the conversation with her about it. But I relate to Hayden with not having the security and safety mentally and emotionally with parents. I don't know how to have parents. Mother's Day and Father's Day are the fucking most awkward days for me out of the entire year, and always has been. I don't know how to celebrate Mother's or Father's Day like that. I can say it to people, but it feels fucking weird to me that day. It always just has. So I can relate to Hayden strongly as a fellow Leo, and as someone that did not necessarily grow up with the quote unquote traditional parental setting. I definitely understand from her perspective. Yes, Michelle Trachtenberg, I didn't necessarily get into her particular passing, but I suspect foul play as well. I suspect foul play as well with Michelle's. I wish I did have the time, but it was a lot going on during Michelle's passing. But I should have got a little bit into it. We got the same story. My mom's super cold too. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? My mom necessarily she's a very sweet person. She's a very nice person. My mom's not necessarily evil. Let me say it like that. My mom's not an evil person, but at the same time, I just, like I said, I relate to not having her in my life, and she was never the main person I would go to for the shoulder to cry on. If anything, I cried on my own shoulder. Everybody will tell you that. Growing up, I cried on my own fucking shoulder. I was a very cold-shelled person when I was growing up. And it was because of the different deaths that I had in my life early on, from my father to my grandmother to not having my mom. It was just different things. It was just different things. Who's that? Because it didn't pop in the chat yet. View KP? Who's View KP? Why does that sound familiar? I gotta look at the list too, because for some reason my chat is showing View KP up here, but it's not showing it on my regular chat. I don't know why. I do see you though, View KP. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that as well. I greatly appreciate that. But yeah, like I said, just not having the security and safety of your mom is something that, and especially for a girl. Let me just also say that too. This is why I keep emphasizing that with the dad. For the dad, okay, now I know who it definitely is. now I definitely know who View KP is. I gotta look at my list too, because I wonder why it's not showing up on my regular chat. Now I know who View KP is, my best friend. Now I know who the fuck it is. You didn't have to say it. I know who it is now, because I'm like, KP. I'm like, I know who it is now. And like I said, this is the same best friend that I shouted out in the very beginning that, put me on to what even happened yesterday. And like I said, before the pods, she told me 30 seconds before the pod started, so I didn't get a chance to process who Hayden Panettiere was. So again, shout out to my best friend that even let me on to knowing what happened yesterday, because I had no idea who. It didn't click, like I said before in the beginning of the pod. I didn't click who that was, but yeah. Again, I didn't have that same sense of safety and security is definitely needed for a daughter. If you are a mom out there listening to the pod, you definitely can understand what I'm saying when I say having a mom in your life as a daughter is probably one of the most important things to you besides God. because it's the one person that you relate to. Every single part of you is relating to your mother as a daughter. So you looking to her for not only the influence, you're looking to her for, like I said before, the safety. You're looking to her for the courage. You're looking to her to uplift you. She pretty much walked the path that you are about to walk. So she needs to lay down the golden yellow brick road for you of just being, being able to be her daughter. And the mom just failed her completely with that by just seeing, even just those 3 words, "you owe me." For you to say that to your daughter is so fucked up. And all she did was say, "Yo, I just want you to be my mom again. I don't want you to be my manager anymore. I just want you to be my mom again. You owe me."
It was short, like ripped the Band-Aid off, but then it was like this dark looming cloud, over my head going, what does she mean by I owe her? What form of payment is she expecting? And it was disappointing to find out that it was money and that she didn't pursue a relationship with me as just a mother-daughter. Like once the business aspect was removed, I was hoping that if I remove this, then that there will be no reason for her to be anything other than my mom. And the fact that it seemed like she didn't care to have a relationship with me was a tough pill to swallow.
As a child, I'm sure you were also, even as a teenager, you're still dealing with the guilt of like, how do I have this conversation with my mom?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm guessing there was a part of you that was, of course, grateful. And of course,
yes.
like, but at the same time, I hear your intention loud and clear, which is, I just want you to be my mom.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to play another role in my life. And then to not get that other role, even when that part's taken care of it. Yeah. Do you still not connect or talk today?
At the moment, no, there is not a relationship between her and I, sadly. I've gone through periods of time where we haven't spoken at all. It seemed to me it was kind of like there was no reason. She had no reason to call, and the only reason why she would reach out was when something was needed. It wasn't just to say, hi, or how are you, or let's grab a bite, or anything like that. It's been a really tough road, and I've, no matter how many times that door has been slammed in my face, I've desperately seeked her approval for my entire life. She was the person after every take that I looked to. I wouldn't look to the director or the producers or anybody else. The only person that existed and the only person whose opinion mattered to me was hers. So after every take, no matter what I was doing, I would find her. And I'm sure I made, the directors feel like, hey, because I would run right past them straight to mom, and I had to make sure that that she was happy with it and I wasn't in trouble, because if I didn't do it right, I was in trouble. Yeah. It was not a good reaction. But I mean, I've lived to please her, and even though, as you said, I'm incredibly grateful. And I've never had a conversation with her as to why she stopped acting and decided to focus her entire life on creating a career for me. And whether it was just that she felt like I was good at it, which is why she kept me in it, or she wanted to live vicariously, or if she wanted to create a potentially successful future for me. I haven't gotten a chance to.
It sounds like she wanted to do all 3 except for the last one. And what I mean by that is she wanted to live vicariously through you. She stopped her career because hers wasn't necessarily going as successful as yours. And the third one, all you have to do is change the last word to herself, because she was trying to create the financial future that was beneficial to herself, meaning her mom. Her mom was all out for just her mom. It's even from Hayden saying all this right now, I can already see that there is an egotistical mother, and that there's a mother that does not give two flying fucks about their daughter, and all they care about is themselves and the check. They were ruled as an odd. Fenton and Coca-Cola. How did that happen? They were ruled as an odd. Well, okay, I see what you're saying. So you can definitely kill somebody by overdosing them, especially with fentanyl and cocaine. You could definitely. I see what you're saying now. Yes, you can definitely do that, and that's another thing too that actually came out. Well, not. I think it's going to come out. That she was laced. That someone drugged her, and someone laced those drugs. That's my bet. Someone drugged her that was with her and laced those drugs to make sure that she was not going to be, and we're gonna get into that, because if you guys know me, you guys know I do spiritual readings. So we're gonna hear from Miss Hayden herself from the grave.
To really talk with her about that. But I'm very grateful for everything that I have. But it was just very confusing because I never asked for it. And that was the thing. Like, there were times where things would get overwhelming, and I could tell they would get overwhelming for her. And she's a big personality. And I also felt very guilty about us having to spend so much time away from my father, and her having to spend so much time away from her son, my little brother, who was growing up, and not it was because of me. It was because of what I was doing.
Yes, it is.
And it was my fault. And I remember her actually turning to me one night and saying, "You're the reason why I'm missing my son growing up." And that,
like, it just got more and more fucked up from this mother. It got more and more text. What's going on? Yes, this was a very sad. And the thing was, right, this interview, the reason why this is the most important interview, not just because of the fact that she was doing like a tell-all promo, it's more of the fact that this interview is literally just 3 months ago. This is from May. This interview is from May. See, August, June, July. Yeah, this interview is from fucking May. Like, come on now. Like, it's like I said, the first 20 minutes told me who killed Hayden. The first 20 minutes of this interview told me who had something to do and who orchestrated her murder. Yo, mom's last words to you physically was, "You owe me." And then all she had to say behind that was, "You're the reason I'm missing my son growing up." Like, you not talking to your daughter saying that. You ain't even look at her as your daughter.
That was a punch in the gut. But as grateful as I was, I wanted to say to her, "But I didn't ask you to take me on auditions. I didn't. I wasn't even old enough to perceive to understand anything but good, bad, hot, cold, diaper change, food, that kind of stuff." So there were really high emotions. I loved what I did, and I had great experiences, but at the same time, I was like, I didn't beg you to give me your life, to sacrifice all of this so that I could have this career.
And just remember that key word she just said, sacrifice. Yeah, that's the thing. She was the moneymaker of her family. And her family was jealous of her being the moneymaker of the family. That's the most fucked up feeling in the world. To be the moneymaker of your family, the financier of your family, the big fortunate one, and everybody around you fucking hates you. That's a fucked up existence to have. And it's even more fucked up that your family gave that to you. That your parents from fucking birth were envious of you.
Yeah, it wasn't your dream. It wasn't your choice.
And I don't know if it would have been eventually.
Yeah.
You know, I wondered that all the time.
Talk to me about that, because even earlier when I read the excerpt from the book, you talk about this idea of acting being a talent that you just leaned into because it was a gift that you were given and then you leaned into it. It's almost like you never got the opportunity to discover who you would have been.
I remember being about, I would say around probably 12 years old and having a total identity crisis. I mean, I was standing in my room and I had been auditioning and acting for years, and I was sitting there going, well, who am I? Which part am I? Because I can be all of these different characters and I can find all these parts in me, and I can become, you know, and I can bring out my fiercer side, or I can be more gentle, whatever the character called for. And they all felt like parts of me. But who the heck was I? Like, just without this, who would I be if without this? So I was very aware of it, and I was very aware that it was going to have an impact on me when I was older. And I was very worried about that. I didn't talk to anybody about it ever. I didn't think anybody would ever have an answer. I don't, to it. But I was.
That's the thing, though. Who can relate to having an identity crisis before you even hit puberty? You're having an identity crisis of who you are at puberty while you're becoming who you're going to be. But because you're already this movie star, you kind of already are somebody, but you just don't know who that is yet.
I was like, this is going to screw you up as an adult. It's going to rear its ugly head, and it's going to, and you're not going to be able to make the connection between why a certain behavior, why am I behaving like this as an adult? It's going to be very difficult to find the connection to the childhood experience that caused that.
It's a lot to take on so young and hard to process, and hard to know where it goes and how it moves forward with you in your life. It sounds like you were being reflective of this almost all the way. It doesn't feel like something that you've only done recently. It feels like at every stage, whether it was 12 or 19 when you finally make the decision. Did you ever start to feel a sense of choice and agency and effect?
I'd grown up in a household where, as much as I love the chaos of my family, there was a lot of headbutting going on. So when I was 18 and Heroes was on, and we had all as a family moved out to LA, and we were living under the same roof in a condo with dogs and cats, and just we were in each other. We went from living in a big house to living in very tight quarters. But as soon as I was 18, I went to my mom and I said, I want to move out. And I knew I needed to move out for my own mental and emotional health. I would say 18 was when I finally felt courageous enough to communicate that and to start my own life.
Yeah, did that come with a sense of like confidence and kind of enthusiasm that you had that, or was it almost like a necessity of like, I just need to do this to survive?
Yeah, no, it was both. It was the idea was terrifying because I'm a true pack animal. Like, I need people around me. It's arguably, it has the biggest impact on me mentally, emotionally, spiritually, which leads to physically. Yes, it was survival. It was definitely survival. It was necessity. It was, I need to get myself out of here. And I carried a lot of guilt with me, leaving my little brother behind in what I could no longer tolerate. And I was terrified to live alone. I didn't want to be lonely. I wanted people around me. I was still scared of the dark and didn't want to not have anybody to,
One thing to point out right there was how she just talked about her brother. Because if you know Hayden, you know her brother meant everything to her. And how devastating it was. Her depression really kicked in heavy when her brother died. That was when she felt, in 2023, just 3 years ago, that was when she probably felt the most guiltiest in her life. And I think that part right there, because I noticed her last movie was, I think, the beginning of this year, Sleepwalkers, I believe it was. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why she kind of just, decided to just step away and work on the book therapeutically, because she needed to release so much. And her brother, like I said, was the icing on the cake to her realizing that, it's not my fault. It's not my fault that this life pretty much, was given to me. But at the same time, this life that was given to me kind of took his. Like I said, it's not her fault. But knowing that in your mind, that the life that was given to me is what caused his death, in a sense, being around the drugs and the partying and whatnot, that guilt will fuck with you. Especially when you're putting the guilt on yourself and you shouldn't have. But you're just blaming yourself for something that just wasn't your fault to begin with.
Laid down next to me until I went to sleep, to make sure that I was safe. So it was exciting, but at the same time, I would say it was more so necessity.
Yeah. I mean, as I was reading your book and learning more and more about you, it was almost like my empathy for you just like grew every time. And I mean that in your strength, for your strength in these situations, not as a sense of pity or feeling sorry for you, but seeing just how strong you had to be in so many different situations. And this, when I got to this part, when you write about this in the book, you write about a moment in your career where a friend of yours takes you onto a boat. You're led to a room which has an older man in it, and then basically told to perform sexual acts and,
Oh, yeah.
And when I read that, I'm like, oh gosh, like not only have you felt like you've had a really unsupported, upbringing, you're now with a friend in the industry and then ending up in a situation like this. Could you talk to me about what that moment does to your psyche when you're that?
I mean, the fact that I was 18, even though I'd lived such a huge life and I thought I was so mature at 18, scientifically, her frontal lobes don't develop until we're 20, 26, 25, 26. So even though I felt like I could make healthy decisions, safe decisions, I wasn't capable of being fully aware of what was going on around me. And it wasn't until I found myself in predicaments that I realized, like, my perspective completely shifted, and I realized that I was in danger. But by the time I'd realized I was in danger, I was quite literally out to sea. And it was that moment shook me and was shocking. And I was quite literally walked down, and I had been having a great time. There was no hints of anything like that happening. So it took me, I was shocked. It took me by surprise. And it was led by somebody that I had grown to trust and see as a protector and somebody who had my back. And to be walked down the stairs, and it was as like a surprise, presented as though it was like a surprise. And it was this very small room, and she physically put me in the bed next to this undressed man who was very famous, and had his hands like this, like this was just, an average day for him. This is something that happens all the time. And I waited for her to leave, and I mean that lion in me, that fire in me, that my hair stood on end, and I became ferocious. I was like, this is not happening. But I had nowhere to hide, and I bolted, and I hid wherever I could think of to hide on a boat. There was no jumping off and swimming away, and there was nobody who was going to. I realized that there was nobody who was going to be empathetic to my situation, that this was nothing new to them.
I mean,
so pretty much, and this was the bigger clip that started going around today, was this part right here where she literally spoke about the yacht party that she went to, and it sounded very Diddy-esque, didn't it? Like, I'm glad that we have taken the time recently to go over all these different sex trafficking and human trafficking situations to where now they all sound the same. And we pretty much can point out what is going on with the situation, pretty much. The way she even described it as someone I thought, in the book, she called them her Stella. Okay. And I'm pausing it right here because now we're going to start picking apart, or should I say, we're going to figure out, who this person was, because the internet don't play. The internet figured out about 3 months ago when she did this interview who the fuck she was talking about, because in the book she didn't want to name the name. She didn't want to put the name at all in the book. She pretty much named them their Stella. Okay? Didn't want to name the person at all. Didn't name the musician at all. But people put 2 and 2 together of who she was talking about, because the singer actually put out his own book describing the situation that Hayden was in. On top of, there are pictures of the party that Hayden was at. So, let us start with, I believe it was this one I found first. No, this one. I believe it was this one. Yeah, this one right here. So, as you can see, I'm gonna put the volume up. As you can see, even in the first picture, Diana Jenkins. This is Diana Jenkins. This is the Stella that everybody has pretty much figured out that was around Hayden quite often. As you can see here, even in this picture, who are they with? This is Vladimir Klitschko, the baby father of Hayden's daughter. Why is Diana Jenkins hugged up in a picture with these two if they don't have an estranged relationship, It's almost like when Jay-Z said, oh, Sean Combs is my friend, but we got pictures of y'all and videos of y'all in party after fucking party.
Enter Diana Jenkins. Streets are saying James Blunt is the musician that was on the yacht with Hayden Panettiere and that her friend was none other than Diana Jenkins. All roads lead to Bravo once again. James Blunt put out a book in 2023 called Loosely Based on a Made-Up Story and sent a copy of it personally to Diana Jenkins, who put a caption that says, "I'm so glad it's loosely based on a made-up story. Too scared to read it, LOL, but we did party like rock stars. Congratulations on your book." I'm gonna have to get real close to the screen here. When she still had money and I still had fame, Diana Jenkins would take me to the Cannes Film Festival on a super yacht that she'd chartered. It was huge. When someone on shore asked which boat you were on, you could simply reply, "The big one." And the team she would assemble would be a gaggle of gay men, a brace of billionaires' wives, some supermodels, Kid Rock, and me.
Sound like a Diddy boy coming, didn't it?
With us, Bono would make an appearance and sing Miss Sarajevo to Diana.
And just in case y'all can't hear her or see it, it says, when she still had money, she's talking about, this is James Blunt's book. The singer James Blunt. Let me show you who James Blunt is, just so in case some of y'all aren't familiar with who James Blunt is. So in case some of y'all aren't familiar who James Blunt is. Now, some of y'all don't recognize him as this, right? But let me do this. 2008. Let's go back to when Haley was 18. And I'll show you what James Blunt looked like in 2008. Looks a lot more familiar now, doesn't he? Looks a lot more familiar now. Okay. So, like I said, you probably don't recognize him in the newer days of today. You're like, oh, who the fuck is James Blunt? Like old ass man. But if you think about who James Blunt is, talking about back in the day, James Blunt. Okay. Very famous British singer. Very famous British singer. But in his book, he talked about his time that he spent with Diana Jenkins. And when she still had money and I still had fame, Diana Jenkins would take me to the Cannes Film Festival on a super yacht that she chartered. It was huge. When someone on shore asked which boat you were on, you could simply reply, "The big one." And the team she would assemble would be a gaggle of gay men, a brace of billionaires, a brace of billionaires' wives, some supermodels, Kid Rock, and me. Guests would fight to get on the boat with us. Bono from U2 would make an appearance and sing Miss Sarajevo. To Diana, the designer Dan McMillan ended up being hosed down unconscious in the jet ski bay. What does this say right here? Having been sick on someone's bed. If we visited a nightclub, Diana would kidnap all the professional dancers in the club and bring them back to the boat. It's the word kidnap that sticks out to me. Kidnap all the professional dancers in the club and bring them back to the boat, leaving the nightclub with only the DJ and the punters. And the boat was a place of fantastic excess. One night I was given an Adderall, which is medical amphetamine, and you know what happens later.
The designer Dan McMillan ended up being hosed down unconscious in the jet ski
They did a lot.
bay, having been sick on someone's bed. If we visited a nightclub, Diana would kidnap all the professional dancers in the club. Wait a minute. If we visited a nightclub, Diana would
Just look out
kidnap all the professional dancers on the boat and bring them back to the boat, leaving the nightclub with only the DJ.
Literally trafficked the club. Literally just took everybody and trafficked the club.
And the punters. What? And the boat was a place of fantastic excess. One night I was given an Adderall, which is medical amphetamine, and later I think we can kind of safely assume.
So, here's a picture of what looks like Paris Hilton. I don't know why they said this was Diana Jenkins. This is Paris Hilton, clearly. This is Paris Hilton right here with James Blunt. And then you see James Blunt again down here with Kid Rock and Bono. Not sure who this is in the beginning.
Later, but these photos are very telling that she also posted on the Instagram post. This is James Blunt over here taking a photo of, if you can't guess it by now, Diana's breasts. And there he is in a couch.
Okay, so that is a younger Diana then. Okay, so that is a younger Diana. I don't know why. It looks so much like Paris Hilton. But this is actually on Diana Jenkins' page. Not like somebody else posted this. This is Diana Jenkins looking at photos on her own Instagram.
Cowboy hat with Kid Rock and Bono. U2 really does suck. Then there's this photo.
And look who we have here. You see her right in the middle next to Diana, don't you? I believe that's James Petty on the left. Let's say Bono again. James Blunt, James Petty. And then you have Hayden Panettiere right there in the middle on the yacht with Miss Diana Jenkins.
Photo of Hayden, Diana, Justin Long, and James Blunt. James Blunt, the same exact dude, posting videos like this. The song lyrics are not important.
This video looks absolutely
about,
insane.
Like, taste like summer or something like that, but let's.
This looks insane. There's someone with a bag over their head.
Let's talk about this.
Tied up.
Let's talk about this over here.
Yeah, I already know. They trying to fuck with me right now. It's fine, though.
What? What the fuck is that?
Like, what is this, bruh? Why is this in your video, James Blunt? Why is that in your video, bruh?
Are you dead ass, James Blunt? Like, there's a fucking hooded person tied up on a
What is this,
boat. And this was right before Hayden died. Just so you know.
Video came out right before Hayden died. And that's not ironic that the video comes out right before Hayden died.
If anyone would like to do me a solid.
Yeah, I need to get this memoir on my damn self. Just to skim through it my damn self. But yeah, that is who she is referring to as her Stella in the book, and who she's referring to in this story that she's telling about the yacht party. Is pretty much Diana Jenkins had walked her down, allegedly, because Diana had supposedly been suing people about it. Matter of fact, let me play that video too from my man Sloan. Shout out to my man Sloan. Let me play that video from Sloan that breaks down this whole thing right here.
That isn't talked about enough. In her book, she decided to write about a traumatic experience she had on a yacht after being forced to sleep with a famous singer by a friend she thought she could trust. The internet has been trying to uncover who this friend could have been and why she would have set up Hayden as a call girl. Online sleuths are convinced that Diana Jenkins is connected to this story, but Diana is denying everything. Although it is interesting that these two were both in Cannes, France at the same time that Hayden described this incident happening. And it's also important to note that Hayden and Diana were really close, but they aren't anymore. And it seems like Hayden wants to get this off her chest. So let's get into it. So recently I've been getting a bunch of comments on this video I did about a woman named Diana Jenkins. And then Hayden Panettiere is coming out with a new book. And in this book, she speaks about this woman. She calls her Stella. And this friend pretty much set her up to be a yacht girl. You've heard of yachting before. The yacht girls, they go to France. They're on these yachts. They're paid a lot of money to sleep with powerful men. Well, that's what Hayden fell into because she trusted this woman, Stella. And the internet is convinced it's Diana. I'm not stating that. Please do not come and sue me, Diana. I'm just going through everything that's been published online. Let's break down.
Now, real quick, just remember one key factor, right, that we're also going to uncover later on. She literally said out her own mouth, Hayden, right, that she found herself in a couple of these different predicaments because she trusted Diana. That came out her own mouth. I caught myself in a couple of these different predicaments.
Down the situation. So Hayden talks about this story when she was 18 years old, being set up to sleep with this man who was really rich, really famous, very powerful, and 30 years old. Now, I don't understand why she gave this woman this name. So in the book, of course, she's renaming a lot of these characters, and the woman that she's friends with that set her up, that pimped her out, is given the name Stella McAmis, which is an interesting last name. And remember, Stella supposedly took Hayden and physically put her into this bed with this naked man who was really famous. And Hayden added that this was just like an average day for him, just hooking up with another 18-year-old girl that Stella had put in front of him.
Led by somebody that I had grown to trust and see as a protector and somebody who had my back. And to be walked down, down the stairs, and it was as like a surprise, presented as though it was like a surprise, and it was this very small room, and she physically put me in the bed next to this undressed man who was very famous and had his hands like this, like this was just an average day for him. This is something that happens all the time. And I waited for her to leave, and I mean that lion in me, that fire in me, that my hair stood on end, and I became ferocious. I was like, this is not happening. But I had nowhere to hide.
What's interesting too is that it seems like Stella, whoever this woman may be, kind of groomed Hayden. Hayden said in her book, I wasn't scared, but I felt like I'd been kicked in the face. This friend had confided in me. She pampered me, treated me like her best friend, then turned around and treated me like a call girl. I deserved better than that by a lot. And in this moment, Hayden was lost. She was on this boat, stuck in the ocean. She wrote, I had nowhere to hide. I bolted and hid wherever I could think of hiding on a boat. There was no jumping off and swimming away, and I realized that nobody was going to be empathetic to my situation because this was nothing new to them. They were used to this lifestyle that she had just been subjected to.
A lot of people have come out and said, well, why didn't she just name who it is? One, she doesn't have to. Okay, this was 18 years ago, and she said that it was a 30-something British singer-songwriter. We all know it's James Blunt. She doesn't have to spell it out for us. Two, those cases don't really go well for women. It's very expensive, it's lengthy, it's emotionally demanding, and it's really hard to prove that an incident like that happened, okay? She's done enough by saying that it happened to her and spelling the pieces out. It's going to do considerable damage to his reputation, as it should.
Well, if the calculations are calculating, it seems like James Blunt is our guy, the one who was on the boat allegedly. Everything's alleged. James, do not come after me. But this is who we're talking about. But how does this connect to Diana Jenkins? Again, I made this video about Diana, I feel like a couple years ago, but lately the views have been going up because people are interested in this. So let's set up when this happened. It was in 2009. It was in the south of France at the Cannes Film Festival. I just spoke about the Cannes Film Festival and how it's so popular for yachting there. Models are just being trafficked against their will. Well, James Blunt, who was in his mid-30s at the time, was a well-known acquaintance of Diana Jenkins and was one of the featured celebrities who participated in her 2008-2009 Room 23 photography project. Because public records placed Diana Jenkins, James Blunt, and Hayden all in Cannes at the same time in May 2009, a lot of people have put together the clues, and you can see that it was Diana who allegedly set up Hayden to be a call girl for James Blunt. Diana's team has already tried to get ahead of this. They decided to put out a statement on May 13th. Their statement reads, Diana had to deal with false online rumors before, and sadly, this is just another example of that. So let me be 100% clear about this. It's most certainly not Diana that Hayden's writing about, and anyone who claims it will be sued. Again, I'm not claiming it. I'm going through everything that's been posted online.
The thing is, you ain't gotta claim it. You ain't gotta claim nothing. You see the pictures. The pictures alone tell you what was going on. Like I said, we got a picture of them together on the yacht. That was all we needed.
So do not sue me.
Diana Jenkins is pissed off that people are suggesting she might be the friend who led Hayden Panettiere onto a boat to perform acts on an older famous man. The rep says, let me be 100% clear about this. It most certainly is not Diana, and anyone who claims it is her will be sued. And they're making it loud and clear by saying that Diana Jenkins has previously sued individuals for making similar false allegations against her, which have ended in settlements in her favor.
And it seems like Hayden...
You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to make an allegation that it's her. We see the picture. We just seen the picture of them on the yacht together. That we ain't got to say shit. The picture should tell you.
Hayden was fully prepared for this. That's why we've got the name Stella over here, because she wants to try to protect herself from being sued by anyone involved. Hayden said it was a bad look for them, and the people I did not name were generally people within my industry. They're people I could run into again, and I didn't want to put myself in that position. Things happened a long time ago, but it was to protect me and my company from being sued by some very pissed off famous people. Honestly, making this video, I'm a little bit nervous because I don't want to make the assumption that Diana did this. I mean, Diana is stating that she did not, but there's just this lore online, and I saw this person on Reddit post about all these articles being deleted. This person writes, they've been scrubbed from the internet, but there were pictures of Diana and Hayden on a yacht, and Diana had bruises all over her ass, and Hayden had a cotton ball taped to her arm like she had just gotten an IV. This is from Stigs84 on Reddit. Again, not my words, but why does it have 16 likes? Diana published this book in 2009. It's called Room 23. It's a coffee table photo book that featured racy photos from a few famous people. I mean, George L. Clooney, a lot. Cindy Crawford, Hayden, Amanda Bynes, Lisa Rinna. So many different people were featured in this book. A lot of celebrities posing really intimately, and it was a different kind of book that we have ever seen published before. So it caught the attention of a lot of people.
Diana Jenkins. She is one of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. She wrote a book photographed by Deborah Anderson, but it is from Diana Jenkins. This book has over 400 pages of very intimate pictures of celebrities in a very famous penthouse suite in a hotel in Beverly Hills, room 23.
You guys know that we do Blind Item Breakdown Thursdays here on this channel. And Crazy Day and Nights is a site that this guy NT puts out a bunch of blind items, and they started to publish blind items suggesting that Diana had different intentions behind the book, that the book wasn't just a coffee table book, but really a gallery for her to use as someone like a pimp allegedly would with like a call girl, like, hey, pick which one you want. Here's your book to pick from. Again, this is a rumor that was created by NT. This person says, I haven't read her book yet, but Hayden names a chapter in the book Room 23. The photography book that Diana Jenkins had is titled Room 23. So it's interesting. I mean, Hayden's telling the story. She's giving us
rooms, and for her to have a whole chapter called Room 23, it already tells you. It already tells you right then and there. Hayden, unfortunately, was literally part of a trafficking ring. And they hid it behind this whole Project Room 23 thing. But the whole shit sound like a Diddy party, a Hugh Hefner pig party. The whole shit just sound like a trafficking ring. The whole thing just sounds like a big trafficking ring. And this is why I always emphasize to y'all, Human trafficking is a $150 billion business. I don't think the government plans to remove that at all. If that was the case, we wouldn't see all these cases with 60 and 70-year-old men that get off for rape on minors. We would not have that many cases with that, but we see so many times, especially in the LA district, for some strange reason, they actually they actually let off a lot of older guys that are sleeping with older men. We covered a case to where the guy pretty much got off for sleeping with the minor, and they put the shit off on the boyfriend being a pimp, and he was already locked up. It's like, yo, dog, I was just trying to help my girl get some extra money to get me out of jail. And y'all not even looking at the fact that there's a 60-year-old man sleeping with a 16-year-old. Why is that part just being ignored and y'all just ready to arrest my black ass? Y'all not even, and then you gave the man immunity. The man was 60 sleeping with a minor and got immunity to tell on homeboy. That was just that if that don't tell you the United States law, I don't know what else does.
It's a timeline where it looks like it's you, Diana, and I wanted to make your statement really clear. She is stating that it's not her, but then she's got a chapter in it named Room 23.
Matter of fact, real quick, let me see something. Just 9 fine art coffee table book. Why you gotta call it a fine art coffee table book? Ain't no fucking coffee table book. And I like how they keep trying to dress it up as a coffee table book, but then your fucking cover is literally, a woman with half a sheet on. Wait. George Clooney and Diana Jenkins? What the hell? With a do not disturb? Look at this shit. This is just me Googling pictures of Room 23. Look at this shit. A Secret Service agent story of espionage and intrigue. We just looking at the pictures from this fucking book. This just looks scary. Lindsay Lohan and Danger. This just looks scary. Don't it? Don't she look scary as fuck? I ain't gonna lie. And then with a very, unfortunately, high Lindsay Lohan right now. Damn, they got a Grinch she coked up so high. This is the scary ass picture. Okay, now I'm mad. Okay, now I'm getting mad. I don't gotta say nothing. I don't gotta say nothing else. But the guy holding a pizza an old man holding a pizza in his hand, and this dude blowing at him. I don't even want to look at no more. I don't even want to look at no more. I don't want to look at it no more. I don't want to see nothing else with that picture. But like I said, this is very telling. Just the cover alone of Room 23 is extremely telling to me. And then you have, like I said, George Clooney and Diana Jenkins talking about some do not disturb. Like that right there, it's enough telling signs of this Room 23, in my opinion. A girl being served as dinner. Whatever she's brushing out of her teeth. Look, I'm let me see. I'm almost tempted to see if Reddit got some extras of this room 23. Oh. Come on, Getty. Come on, Getty. I don't play. What's this right here? Okay, so it's just this from the website. So this is supposedly from Dan. The first thing you see from room 23 is pictures of Hayden. Crazy. We ain't, bruh. This is just picture room 20. This is just Diana Jenkins room 23, and the first fucking 5 to 10 pictures is of Hayden. Now, here's where we start to, connect the dot or two. Because why is the baby daddy so familiar of room 23 and close to Diana Jenkins? We're talking about the same Vladimir Klitschko that has a actually no, Brian Hickerson had the abusive, Brian Hickerson was the real abusive boyfriend. Vladimir also was abusive to her as well, though. It just wasn't as documented as Brian. But Vladimir also had a history of being abusive to Hayden as well. 6'5", she's 5'2". You do the math there. But it is documented that he had also a history of abusing Hayden as well. She talks about it later on in the interview, as far as she never did share personally out loud that side of Klitschko. Like I said, these pictures are the room 23. Diana Jenkins is riddled with pictures of Hayden Panettiere. Ain't that something? I'm just looking at the different people that were out there partying with them. Anthony Keats. This is 2000. Okay, so this is 2009. Look, another picture of Hayden. Another picture of Hayden right there. This is a 2009. It's seeing. Okay, so all this is 2009. Room 23. So Hayden's about 18, 19 years old. So she's well endowed in the lifestyle now. You could already see this is what James Blunt was talking about room 23. Anthony Kiedis and Hayden Panettiere. Now, I keep seeing this guy. Like I said, they showed him earlier up here, and they showed Hayden right there. Yeah, pick that up for me. Pick that up for me, Getty. See, the thing is with room 23, I can't just go and say, oh, they were just taking a picture together. When we literally have the information that she was a call girl, unfortunately. So I can't look at it if they was just taking a picture together. As much as a business deal or arrangement might have been going on right there. Another picture of Hayden that evening. Like I said, the thing is just riddled with pictures of Hayden that evening. Interesting enough, right? I wonder if room 23 was just a period in time of like a year or two. I'm just looking at all the different celebrities that were there. And for him to just keep coming up this Anthony Kiedis like this. I forgot what group he's a part of, Anthony Kiedis, by the way. But for him to keep coming up is what's sticking out to me the most. And then like I said, keep seeing the pictures of Hayden also. And then there's a picture of them together. So that, like I said, it's just certain things that were just sticking out to me just now that was a little bit more foretelling than anything. Yeah. Room 23. And we are well aware of what Room 23 is.
Which you famously published a book titled Room 23. Am I going crazy, guys? Comment below. Because if you go and sue someone, there's a discovery process where the lawyers get to gather all the evidence, and usually people don't want lawyers in their business. Because if the lawyers have access to all your text messages, your emails, things like that, then maybe they'll find another crime or a network of crimes. I doubt the publisher would have allowed this to be published if they couldn't prove it was true. If Diana sues Hayden for libel, I think that opens up bigger problems for her, which is the investigation that occurs. I'm sure she'll try to discredit her and expect a smear campaign to begin soon. One of the biggest rumors about Diana that she does not like is that people call her a madam. And I wasn't familiar with what a madam is, but I guess it's like technically the female version of a pimp. Here's a blind item that's allegedly about Diana. Again, everything's super alleged. This foreign-born used to be an A-list. Then she got greedy and tried to twofers by sending her underage female recruits all over the
I love blind items. I need to go through some blind items too. I need to go through some blind items because if y'all not familiar with blind items pretty much are like little riddles that tell you about certain celebrities' behind the scenes doings, if you will. Like I remember we went through like an hour worth of blind items about Drake. And we was uncovering shit that was connecting dots to other shit. Like I said, we went through like an hour worth of blind items about the behind the scenes doings of Drake. And it was crazy. It was fucking crazy, the shit we was finding out. But love blind items.
the world to wealthy business.
Let me run it back real quick.
To be an A-list. It's like technically the female version of a pimp. Here's a blind item that's allegedly about Diana. Again, everything's super alleged. This foreign-born used to be an A-list. Then she got greedy and tried to twofers by sending her underage female recruits all over the world to wealthy businessmen, while also...
Right there. Female recruits all over the world to wealthy businessmen while also using the girls to smuggle what? Coca-Cola. I mentioned this earlier about fentanyl and Coca-Cola, Mrs. Cole.
Also using the girls to smuggle Coca-Cola. Sounds like an episode of Euphoria. Many of her recruits were also the ones who would show up at the modeling competitions, which were nothing more than auction markets for the wealthy. She's back now and has been supplying only female recruits this time and no drugs that I know of. But her recruits are transported to areas used as rest and recreation for troops fighting in wars and other conflicts. Wait, are they trying to say that she's like a madam to the soldiers? Speaking of crazy day and nights, there are so many rumors that different celebrities are using these pages because they can't help themselves. They love the gossip. You have no idea. I ran into, I'm not going to list them, but some people who've told me that they listen to my videos all the time. And I'm like, wait, you're like a famous person, but even famous people want to listen to YouTube when they get ready or things like that. And supposedly there were some posts made by, again, allegedly, Robert Downey Jr., who had a lot to say about Diana Jenkins.
I've been seeing a whole lot of comments in my videos about Diana Jenkins, about what Robert Downey said about her. A website called Crazy Days and Nights. So there was someone on the chat with the screen name Him who had a lot to say about Diana Jenkins, and he also described himself as someone who was in Hollywood that almost lost his whole career until he sobered up, and now he's back on track. So
yo, that sounds just like Downey. Like I'm glad Downey always got look. Robert Downey Jr. always got a funny ass way of introducing himself, don't he?
Jezebel published a story speculating that it was Robert Downey Jr. So just so everyone's clear, we don't have proof that Robert Downey Jr. actually said these things. They're just speculating based on how this guy, whose screen name is him, described himself. Let's read what he said about Diana Jenkins. So basically he said that he's a former friend of Diana Jenkins and that she was married to an uber rich guy who ran Barclays in the UK, and that she runs a high class call girl, party girl ring for Arabs, Wall Street, DC, royals, and Hollywood elites. He also said that her book Room 23 is a catalog of different clients.
Now, do we think that Robert Downey Jr. is on here typing these things? I don't know, because celebrities, they are just like us. So sometimes they are in these chat forums defending themselves or spilling the tea. There was a lawsuit that took place involving Diana and Enty, Crazy Days and Nights. If you try to look up online for blind items associated to Diana, you will see that you cannot find them any longer because the blinds and the toxic internet rumors, is what this internet post says, were completely scrubbed following the major defamation lawsuit. I want to know more about this lawsuit, and I found one article talking about it. For years, Hayden Panettiere and Diana Jenkins were constantly being brought up on Crazy Days and Nights, a blind item community, with readers thinking the former was yachting Sugar Baby and the latter was her madam, that Hayden was the sugar baby on these yachts and Diana was the one collecting the coin. Skeptics of their closeness pointed to a photo book Room 23 as a catalog of all of the workers that Diana had in her stable. Diana eventually sued Crazy Days and Nights, the anonymous gossip blogger known as NT Lawyer. The two eventually settled, with NT releasing a statement on his blog that Diana is not, nor do I now believe she's ever been involved in any illegal or immoral activity. I regret contributing to this false narrative. I apologize to Diana and her family for the harm my statements have caused. Again, reiterating all of the evidence on the table. That's one thing my lawyer always tells me, like, you just got to show what everyone's statement is and every part of it. And like, I'm just telling a story. It's up for you guys to decide.
So it looks like single season Beverly Hills housewife Diana Jenkins has settled her lawsuit with NT Lawyer, who runs the blind item website Crazy Days and Nights. Jenkins had sued NT Lawyer last year. She posted that she wanted him to remove these false and defamatory allegations he had up on the site. She wrote that it was a painful and expensive process, but fighting misinformation and bullying online is something she's passionate about. She then reposted NT Lawyer's statement about the settlement, which said, "Over the years, I have posted many statements about Diana Jenkins. I recently removed all of them from my website, social media, and Patreon. I did so because some of them stated or implied things that are not true. Diana is not, nor do I now believe that she has ever been involved in illegal or immoral activity. I regret contributing to this false narrative, and I apologize to Diana and her family for the harm my statements have caused."
So we've got the rumor that Diana's book was a catalog of clients and call girls. Then we've got the lawsuit. But then more recently, Diana responded to an online comment about rumors about her being pictured with Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump. It's not her. Diana says it's a woman actually named Ingrid. But damn, Diana, you just keep catching strays out here. Like, I mean, where there's smoke, there's usually fire. But like, I guess she's innocent here, huh? Diana said, "When these men were doing what they were doing, I was a broke-ass refugee in London with no passport, no name, no country, no family, and no one to help me out, surviving on barely any food, sending whatever I could to my parents in Bosnia to survive, and working 3 jobs to put myself through college." So it was not her with these men. Here's a snapshot of the cease and desist letter that NT received from Diana Jenkins' lawyers. They note at one point that Room 23 was well, the rumors were that Room 23 was an SEX trafficking book, and that Miss Jenkins has always been involved in the SEX trade, and that Miss Jenkins was introducing Hayden Panettiere to other celebrities, which is really wild that she's acknowledging the rumor here in this letter, and then Hayden has a chapter in her book called Room 23, and she's talking about how she was...
And she's specifically named in the lawsuit. Hayden's name is specifically in the lawsuit. Hayden is seen riddled throughout Room 23's pictures. What more do you need?
Set up to be with other celebrities, like pretty much trafficked. So it's weird to see that they've acknowledged this rumor. This rumor has been around for a while. And then now the person who's listed here in the document, Hayden, is finally giving us clarity. I think it's time to listen.
Diana Jenkins posted this on her Instagram. She sent out 8 cease and desist letters to people posting about her.
If you guys know Hayden Panettiere, you've known she's gone through hell and back being within the industry. And part of that is due to her toxic relationship with her ex-fiance, Vladimir. Back in 2009, Hayden met Vladimir at an official launch party for, guess what? Room 23, Diana's book. It looks like they have...
That's what I said. We just seen the pictures of them together at Room 23. I'm like, yo, he knew Diana?
Mutual friends. Diana was the mutual friend that ultimately Hayden got with and got pregnant with.
Chum, calm down. What's going on?
I wonder if Hayden was kind of like a call girl in this situation for Vladimir. I mean,
and that was the thing that I didn't want to say because they have a daughter together. That was the one thing I didn't want to say, bro. Well, I mean, that's just part of ranking up in my routes. You're gonna de-rank to go right back up. That just happens. That always happens. That's how the matchmaking works. I didn't want to necessarily allude to that, but when I just thinking about that, someone that is fucking 6'5", a boxer from a whole different country, ends up with Hayden Panettiere. I'm like, who's 5'2" and frail and like it just didn't. Just looking at the two personalities, one doesn't go with the other. Just one does. You would not think it just doesn't go with the other. Like it just doesn't. You look at Vladimir and then look at her next to him, it don't even look right. Even in the picture that we pulled up of them together, you saw Diana hugging Hayden. That shit looked no different than the Nipsey Hussle, Lauren London, and Diddy picture with Diddy in the middle with the hand over Hayden. Remember the picture of Diddy and... Matter of fact, let's look at that picture real quick. I want so y'all understand what I'm talking about. Look at that picture real quick. Where Getty Images at again? Let me show you what I see right here, because the picture don't look no different. Vladimir, Diana, Hayden. Diana in the middle. This is the picture I'm thinking about. Remember this picture here? Of them together? This one right here? That's the first thing I think about when I see that picture of Diana, Hayden, and Vladimir, and Diana sitting there in the damn middle. This is exactly what I think of. And you can easily reverse it and say Vladimir over here with Hayden over here, with Hayden being gone right now. But this picture and this picture, one in the goddamn same.
I mean, he is a wealthy multimillionaire, undefeated boxer. If he wanted to go and find a pretty Hollywood girl, maybe Diana would be able to hook it up. Even if she wasn't even doing this trading thing, she could be just someone who knows people, like a good matchmaker. I keep thinking about that one statement we saw that the book was supposedly a catalog of clients and call girls, but clients as well. So Vladimir was in this book, featured in Room 23. So is George Clooney. It's an interesting pool of people. It kind of is giving matchmaking dating service, but all really bad people, at least in Hayden's circumstances. It seems like every memory and interaction that she's had involving this woman, Diana, whether it's a friend through her, possibly trips they've taken together, it's all left her traumatized.
You talk a lot about these men in Hollywood approaching you and being inappropriate. The interesting part of meeting Vlad at a time when, yet again, there was a moment, Hollywood party, young, beautiful woman, and some person prowling.
not just one person prowling. I realized over time that it was a very, very big crew.
This person writes, my girl wasn't protected. Heartbreaking what she's been through in the industry. Hayden discusses making Room 23, saying that she's only in the book because her friend and makeup artist was working on it that day and Hayden needed her makeup done for a party that night. Hayden says her friendship with Diana, who was 30 years older than her, came shortly after she fired her momager. I'm not sure what I needed at that time, she writes, a mother figure, a diversion from heroes, or some excitement and friendship. But I fell completely under her spell, which kind of gives like a hindsight feeling that like a spell is not a good thing. So Diana was the perfect person at the perfect time.
In other words, Diana Jenkins became Hayden Panettiere's handler. She literally became her handler. That was the person she went to. And when the mom was the momager no more, that was the person she would go to for her confidant. And eventually, this person put them on to some extra money making. Because she's big star in Heroes right now, but she's not like big star Heroes, right? So, of course, you're still seen as the under. So they make you a call girl because they looking at you like, now the thing is, you're already an established actor in the game, but they're not even looking at you like that. Definitely was. Thank you. Appreciate that. They're not even looking at her like this established actor as much as they're looking at her like just a piece of pussy that they could pass around with some extra money themselves.
To step in there when her mom and manager got out of the picture to pretty much take over Hayden's life. Hayden really never had support in the acting industry. She entered into it so young and she did not know what to do, so she listened to everyone. You think like a child is supposed to be protected. They're supposed to listen to the adults in the room. So I'm assuming if you're a kid, like you hear the adult or your manager.
And you literally heard Hayden tell the Jade Shetty, she kept that throughout her entire life, that I just want to be a kid thing. So pretty much she was just listening to everybody for guidance and didn't necessarily know who to even trust for that guidance. Again, something I can relate to is someone that didn't necessarily have parents in their lives. You look to everything else for your influence and guidance. Yo, that was another thing too, because I kept hearing about that. The whole Kingdom Hearts thing was in relating to Hayden, and I'm like, well, I've never played the Kingdom Hearts games, but I'm willing to bet that there's some extra shit in it. Especially now, I'm willing to bet there's some extra Illuminati type shit in it. Something very Masonic in the game that's very foretelling. Now, whether or not she was going to say anything about it in her memoir or whatever, that remains to be seen. But yeah, that is another weird thing because isn't she a character in the game, I believe? Yeah, she's a voice actor in the game. She's actually a voice actress in Kingdom Hearts for the video game. So, and I remember they showed her character alongside of all her different roles. All of her important roles. I saw that early and I was like, yo, I recognize that character with the red hair. And she's from Kingdom Hearts. Didn't even think about that part. But yeah, it is kind of eerie that she dies. The announcement of the Kingdom Hearts, very similar to Haley with Godzilla. The thing with Haley and Godzilla, not to get too far off it, the thing with Haley and Godzilla was that, or Katie, I should say, that her death also coincided with the other gentleman. I'm trying to think of his name now. Forgive me, but the other very well-known actor that also died, that is doing the Godzilla movie. So 2 actors died in the same exact month that are doing the Godzilla movie next year. that is set to come out. It's already been shot. It's already done. It's already filmed. They're pretty much doing the promo stages of it now. We're going to get the trailer for it very soon for the movie coming out next year. But just very eerie again how they died. And that movie in particular is about, and we talked about it before, Hollow Earth. So without getting too far off the topic of this one, it is very eerie how Hayden dies at the announcement of Kingdom Hearts 4. And, you know, it just goes to show again how there were more people looking to benefit off of Hayden's death than anything. Now, her net worth was left at $6 million. However, you clearly heard the mom say to her and threaten her, like, you owe me. So is this a thing to where they want to collect all of the royalties from the different things that she's done now that she's passed? Because you're talking about someone that's 36 and didn't necessarily have time to write a will. So everything kind of does just go to the estate of the family.
Or someone who appears to be an authority tell you to do something, you think it's right, you think it's good for you, you think that taking these little pills for your interviews help your interviews, and you don't understand the consequences of these things because inherently adults are supposed to protect children. But Hayden even admitted at the age of 12, she looked in the mirror and just didn't even know who she was. She was dissociated between her acting self and who she really was as a person. Because honestly, she never had the space to figure out who she was. And I feel like even to this day, she doesn't know. Let's talk about Leslie. That is Hayden's mom, who she doesn't really have a relationship with. One of the stories that she writes about her mother includes this moment where her mom was so controlling. In 2002, she was in this movie Panic Room, and the producers, the executives, wanted her to cut her hair to look more like Jodie Foster. Her mom said, hell no, that's a deal breaker. So ultimately, Hayden was fired without even understanding what happened behind the scenes. At 19 years old, Hayden told her mom, I don't want us to work together anymore. I just want you to be my mom. To which her mother, Leslie, replied to her saying, you owe me. Hayden actually has a really resentful relationship with her mother because her mom wanted her to be in this world, but also made her feel bad for it and shame. Hayden said, I remember my mom actually turning to me one night and saying, you're the reason I'm missing my son growing up. And that was a punch to the gut because she felt guilty and shame that her mom couldn't go and be with her brother because of this obligation that she's got.
Speaking of
which, wait, I'm a kid. Why do I even need to be doing these things? On top of Hayden having this.
Let's get to that. Matter of fact, I'm let me let him finish.
Mother,
so we gonna get
resented her over not having a closer relationship with her son, which again, Leslie, is your fault, not Hayden's. Hayden actually lost her brother Jansen. He began using drugs at one point in his teens, and he died of an enlarged heart in 2023. Hayden got the call from her dad when she was getting ready to promote Scream, the Scream movie, and she was the one who had to tell her mother about this. God, I have a younger sister and brother, and I can't imagine ever losing them. And I'm so sorry to anyone who's experienced that. It's such a horrific thought and feeling, and I can't imagine she went through that. And then to think about what her mom said to her when she was younger, of course she's including that in the book because it still hurts. What a tragic life. But I also think that Hayden is a survivor, and she's beautiful for that, sharing her story in her book and speaking to the world because it's relatable. We've got all the Kardashians in the world with their baked potato behinds, and it's just so unrealistic. And to see someone who's so vulnerable, who's going through things that we've all gone through and things.
Okay, so let's get through that real quick. So I want to get to the parents real quick. 'Cause there's an article on the parents. Which might make my shit go a little slow, but I don't care. We're gonna figure it out. So. Okay, this is the one about Diana Jenkins. Let me see something real quick. Okay, yeah, I did want to read this real quick before I get to the parents. This is again about Hayden's relationship with Diana Jenkins. So Hayden Panettiere spoke out about her weird friendship with Diana Jenkins just months before her tragic death at age 36. Their friendship was brought back into light following the release of Hayden's memoir in May. Diana was forced to deny rumors surrounding her and Hayden The former cast member was whatever I don't know what that is. Was forced to deny claims that she was the friend who had put a teenage Hayden Panettiere into bed with an undressed man who was very famous. Hayden made the claims in her memoir, claiming that an unnamed friend had betrayed her as a teenager by putting her into that situation with the man. Hayden later explained that there was a reason she decided not to publicly name the person into bed with the man. Hollywood Reporter, it was a bad look for them, and the people I didn't name were generally people within my industry. They are people I could run into again. I didn't want to put myself in that position. She did say that in the interview. So Diana and Hayden first met when she was 19, and Diana being almost 50, with her recalling in her memoir, Diana was almost 30 years older than me. And while I'd always been mature for my age, it's impossible to overlook an age difference that large. It was a weird friendship for sure, but as I stretched into my newfound adulthood, I had to see which relationship suited me and my own on my own terms. At the moment, Diana seemed like she could give me everything I needed. This isn't the first time Dana has had to deny false rumors about her, as she's dealt with speculation for over a decade that she once ran a secret call girl ring. The rumors all started as a result of her book Room 23, which Diana published in 2009 and featured provocative pictures. Crazy thing is, talking about 2009 and 2008, that's when the incident actually happened. That's the funny thing, right? So you published the book a year after the actual incident supposedly happened on the yacht that you were with James Blunt and Diana and Hayden. That's kind of crazy, right? Provocative pictures of Lindsay Lohan. Provocative is not the word I would use for Lindsay Lohan's picture. Amanda Bynes. Oh my God. George Clooney, Hayden Panettiere, who was 20 years. Just that list of names right there. Especially when you get down to George Clooney. Lindsay Lohan and Amanda Bynes. We don't got to go into what happened with them, do we? And then you got Hayden Panettiere's there. She was 20 years old at the time. The rumors then resurfaced again, and when Diana joined, whatever show this is, with her saying in a confessional that the claims her book was a catalog of clients and call girls. So Diana had a actual confessional where she said her book was a catalog of clients and call girls. But she said it had been offensive to her character. She also sued the blogger who had falsely claimed she was a sex trafficker. So the Star also clarified at the time she was in no way linked to what happened to Hayden, but you didn't deny your actual relationship with Hayden. Ain't that funny, right? Diana has had to deal with false online rumors before, and sadly, this is just another example of that. So let me be 100% clear about this. It is most certainly it is not Diana, and anyone who claims it will be sued. During the book, Hayden recalled that she was led by somebody that had grown. Well, we know what the story right there. I want to get into the parents now, because I thought I pulled up the article about the parents. Let me pull that up real quick. There was an article I saw earlier from People about the parents. I remember hearing about the dad. Like, she talks about the dad later on in the interview. Matter of fact, let me play that part real quick before I even continue. Why is this most replayed right here? Okay. Where is it right here? Is this another part where she talks about the dad right here? I think it is. I know it's about the hour mark where she talks about the dad specifically.
Because that just seems overwhelming.
There was nothing to do. Like that was you feel completely helpless. Yes, powerless, helpless. I would get in the car and I drove like
I think this isn't the part right here. All right, let me move it up real quick, because it is a part. I want to get to the part where she talks about the dad specifically. What timestamp did I have it in my notes that she talked about the dad specifically? 20 mark. I think it's about this part right here, actually.
I don't feel it, even though it's not what I wanted to happen, and it's not what I hoped motherhood was.
Actually, before I even get to the parents, well, no, I can get to the parents right now, because what she was talking about here was another devastating moment in her life, and the person that did the spiritual reading on Hayden actually uncovered on what happened here. So this particular part of the interview, she gets into where she had to do the custody signing over to Vladimir for her daughter, and even when she explains it, it sounds like it was literally for for Hayden's safety as well as her daughter's. It was almost like she was forced into doing it.
Was gonna be, or what it would look like. I'm so lucky that it turned out the way it did, and that she is safe and a wonderful, well-rounded person, that that we have the bond that we have, which is, it's something that I was terrified wasn't going to happen when she was taken away, that I was going to have to fight really hard to have any sort of relationship with her. And it ended up, in a lot of ways, being a blessing. I will always want her here. I always miss her. I always want her to, to have my arms wrapped around her, but that's just not the way life is, right?
So let me see.
He's been incredibly supportive. I mean, he's brought her over here. She's known her great grandparents. They've been a part of her life. I've lost my grampy and my papa, but they were able to know her, which was really important to me. And she still has my Nana and my grandma. She calls Nana Super Nana. Super Nana. And she is Super Nana. Yeah, we have a great relationship, and Vlad and I are still best friends. There's not many people who know me in this world as well as he does, and I know that we still have an incredible amount of love for each other, and most importantly, we have an incredible amount of respect for each other. We made promises that something that I unfortunately grew up with was hearing a lot of negative talk from my mother about my father, and that had a really negative impact on me. It hurt to constantly, hear the person that you love be put down. So we made a promise to each other that we would never say anything negative about one another to our daughter.
Wow.
And that both of us have stuck to that promise, and we talk each other up to our daughter and talk positively about each other. And I check in with her, make sure she's being respectful, and that she's loves her dad, and that she knows he's a hero and one of the bravest people I know, and she loves both of us to death. So
yeah, I mean, I feel like it's an intention we all have to kind of repeat the good things our parents did well and try to not repeat the things that maybe they didn't do so well. And it's almost like we're always trying to be, I think those of us who are trying to be on the path of awareness, evolve and just say, hey, I'm going to make other mistakes. We all are, because we're human, but going to try and do my best in this capacity. I feel like
absolutely
something we were talking about earlier about repeating patterns and people that we attract into our life. And you talked about this, and you were mentioning it to me earlier. You talked about, surviving your abusive relationship with your ex.
Yes.
And I wanted to ask you about, because like I said before, it's like every time you go further in the book and deeper in the book, I can tell that you know your truth and you know who you are. And as you said earlier in our conversation today, you were like, but I don't know if I'm always good at knowing or trusting my gut or following through on it.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I feel like I've let myself down so many times and let other people down so many times. And I've just, I mean, I worked so hard to create this incredible life and career, and I basically burnt it all to the ground, essentially, and had to, start climbing up that mountain. And it happened, more than once, and having to try to get out of my own way was the most difficult part of it. It was almost like I would self implode and destroy something good that I had going on before anybody else got a chance to. It was like, instead of setting myself up for failure, I knew I was going to fail. So I was going to just, it might as well happen sooner rather than later. And it made me stop trusting myself. I mean, I wasn't even raised to trust myself, as I said before. Like, my instincts, aside from my instincts as an actor, as a human being, I was not I was not taught to really trust myself. I was taught to trust these people around me. It's been a really long road and a really hard road, and a really stressful road, trying to get back to that trust I had at one point when I was younger in myself, and how, knowing how important it is that you listen to yourself, that you listen to your gut. Every time that I have not listened to my gut, I have always regretted it. I found myself in a terrible position. The abuse, the fact that I allowed this person not only into my life, but for how long I put up with it. And this is a topic that is, I've been journaling a lot about it, trying to organize my thoughts and my feelings. And I did journal last night, and for the first time, I really feel like I was able to put into words what has been going on for the past decade of my life in regards to the abuse. And I was actually going to ask if I could read it, because I think it's really important. This topic is really important for me to word properly, word well, and so the people listening really understand what I'm saying.
Please, yeah.
It took me a long time to finally see the situation clearly. I've had to do a lot of soul searching and therapy around this topic, because allowing somebody to get away with harming me was so unlike me. The more I thought about it and analyzed it, the more connections I made between...
Okay, so the dad she gets to a little bit later on. This part right here is about the ex Brian Hickerson. And I do want to look at the TMZ interview of Brian Hickerson, because even Brian Hickerson has some interesting words about her mom. But Brian Hickerson, from my gathering, looks like in the TMZ interview, someone that was healed and someone that was ready to accept the fact that he was an abusive person. But Brian Hickerson definitely had a very extensive domestic violence past even before Hayden. And when he got with Hayden, he was the same jackass and the same abusive man, but he was, that was the one person I think he really truly realized he fucked up and hurting.
Between the abuse I was allowing to transpire and the abuse I've gone through in my past. They say that you end up marrying one of your parents, and no, I'm not married, but I found a very interesting connection between this abusive behavior and my mother's abusive behavior. Even though they would both shake their heads and say I was crazy to think there was anything similar about the two of them, there definitely was. I realized that I was more afraid of being alone than being abused. And in order to be around that kind of behavior, it took me dulling my senses and numbing myself with substances in order to silence that rational voice in my head that was telling me exactly what was going on and the many reasons why I needed to get myself out of this toxic relationship and as far away from this person as possible. Somehow, every time I found the strength to get away from my abusers, they would always find their way back into my life one way or another. It was like being on a hamster wheel in this endless dizzying cycle. And the craziest part and the hardest part was to understand was that the physical abuse would come out of left field, but it was always when he was drinking, same as my mom. We could be dancing and joking, and then a switch would flip and suddenly it was on. Something would snap and it was like watching a predator suddenly smell blood. I was dealing with this Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde situation. I tried to fight back in every way that I could think of. I took every approach from standing my ground to attempting to calm the situation to running and hiding from it until he sobered up. Then, once he was sober, that good part of him would be back and he would see the damage he had done and he was devastated and apologetic, and it seemed so honest and genuine that I was torn. I thought back to everything I've done wrong in the past and the forgiveness I was shown. So I think a part of me felt an obligation to be just as forgiving. I desperately wanted to make him a better person. I wanted to fix him. I'm a really strong person at my core, and anyone who knows me was shocked that I would ever allow anything like this to happen. I have this bright, powerful light in me that comes on, but then it would dim around that kind of intense conflict. I found myself trying to be smaller and weaker just to avoid a battle because there's no reasoning with the unreasonable, and as strong as I am, I couldn't physically stand up to a grown man. I know I have a big heart, and I always try to see the good in people so much so that it's been to my detriment at times. The worst part was that by allowing the cycle to continue, it hurt the people I love who came to my rescue, and I cannot allow that to continue to happen. In order to finally get off the hamster wheel and put an end to the cycle of abuse with him and with other toxic people in my life, I had to remind myself how strong I am. I had to envision the life I want for myself, and most importantly, I had to take accountability for enabling unforgivable behavior.
Thank you for sharing that from your journal. Very, very personal, and appreciate you, letting us in that deeply as you do in the book and in what happened in the last couple of nights, I believe.
Thank you for letting me share. I feel like, that's the first time I've shared that, so I'm feeling the weight, this weight come off my shoulders.
Now, real quick, I do want to share, if they do have it. Don't they have the full thing? Just the interview with TMZ of Brian Hickerson. And this was done, I want to say, right when the memoir came out. Yeah, 3 months ago in the memoir. A lot has happened in these 3 months. Interesting enough, right?
Up about life in the spotlight, including struggles with addiction, postpartum depression, the loss of her brother, and her experience in an abusive relationship with ex-boyfriend Brian Hickerson. Joining me today to share his perspective is Brian Hickerson. Welcome, Brian.
Charlie.
So in Hayden's new book, she talks about your relationship, and she does not hold back. She says it was an abusive relationship. She said it was traumatic and emotional. And she even said that she kept a lot of details about the relationship private from some of her closest friends because she was embarrassed by the toxic cycle. What are your thoughts on her characterization of your relationship?
Man, I think it speaks for itself. got arrested for, you know, abusing her, and I wouldn't blame her friends for being pissed off at me. So I don't really have much to say on that, but
Do you understand her experience about your guys' relationship? Do you see where she's coming from?
we've been together for 8 years. I mean, that's a topic of conversation that came up a lot. So yeah, you know, I had a couple um, opportunities to apologize for it and reflect on it. So I don't know. You'd have to ask her what she thinks about it. But you know, you never lay hands on a woman. Bottom line.
So when she was talking about your relationship, she compared it to a weed. She said every time you pull it out, another weed pops back up, and you're like, I thought I killed this. What do you think about her comments comparing your on and off again relationship to a weed that keeps growing back?
Well, coming from a former landscaper, which I was, all you got to do is spray some Roundup right there on it. She wasn't talking about me. She was talking about her terrible mother.
So you don't think she was talking about how you guys broke up and got back together and then broke up again and kind of had that cycle?
No.
When was the last time you talked to Hayden, and what was that conversation like?
See, this is why I wanted to play his interview, because even how he answered that, it wasn't like he was putting off the domestic violence on the mom. He was pretty much clarifying someone that he had spent 8 years with. Probably she was even developing that memoir around him. And he knows exactly who she was talking about in that book. So for him to come out and say that wasn't about me, that was about my mom.
I talked to her yesterday.
Were you guys talking about the book, or what was the conversation?
The conversation was about the book, and she was, you know, of course, she's worried about it. You know, it's her first book, and you know, who wouldn't be nervous about it? But you know, the only thing I said to her, I was like, "Look, dude," I was like, "You got one of the craziest stories I've ever heard in my life, and when people read it, it's gonna be a hit."
Well, it's great that you're still very supportive of, her writing this memoir, because there are a lot of things about your guys' relationship that, you know, maybe don't speak so well about you, about her, about things that you guys went through together.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't have a very good past, did we?
So one of the things she talked about, she did an interview with Us Magazine talking about the 2020 incident that happened between you two. And she said, what happened in Wyoming helped push me in the right direction, but it still took me a long time, and I still struggled to fully put a kibosh to it for a while. She seems to be talking about the incident that happened with you guys in 2020 on Valentine's Day, where you were arrested for domestic abuse,
Yeah.
for allegedly punching her. What happened?
Yeah.
What happened that night, Brian?
I had a lot to drink, and I got physical with her, and I got arrested, spent the night in jail, and you know, that's just what happens when you lay hands on women.
Was it hard getting back together after that and working through it?
No, so I think the worst one was God, that's a big one. It was the one that Alan Jackson, 320K bail. That was a big one. And that one really hit me and my family very, very, very badly. And then after that, I think we went through 6 years, me and Hayden, not a single fight. We had the best relationship that I think anybody could ever have. I mean, she was like, she told me, she was like, I think we're just great roommates. And I was, I agree. I agree. So we're just good friends. We're just good friends. That's it.
So despite the trials and tribulations you guys had throughout your relationship, you were photographed together in March at the airport. Where does your relationship stand now?
Our relationship now is, I think it's just a mutual respect thing. She's, she'll always hold a special place in my heart, and I hope the same for her. But yeah, we're just good buddies.
So, Hayden did say that you are abusive, but you have been working on yourself. Do you mind sharing what you've been doing lately?
Yes, I have been working on myself. Uh, Shia LaBeouf leads our AA group, the Isolators. The man saved my life. He introduced me to my sponsor, JJ, and we have a very good group.
How did you get connected to him?
My therapist.
Was there anything about Shia that surprised you when you got connected to him?
Yeah, I am a very big Christian, and so is Shia, and we both love Jesus. And so that was kind of like, yeah, the biggest thing for me.
For you and Hayden, do you want to get back together with her?
Nah.
Do you ever think about one day marrying her?
Yeah, of course.
Is it something that you think could still happen?
I hope so. She probably doesn't think the same way, but it's you know,
Do you think it's better for her to not be with you?
I think that Hayden is one of the most talented people I've ever met in my life, and I would be an idiot not to walk away from her and let her flourish in her career. So, we probably wouldn't be good together. I'd like to see what she's gonna do with the next like 30 years of her career.
Has there ever been a part of you that felt like she deserved better?
Absolutely. Of course.
So she co-parents with her ex-husband, Vladimir Klitschko.
He's a good dude.
Have you crossed paths with him or ever spoken to him?
Spoke to him one time on FaceTime, and he was like, he's a good dude. Good dude.
But you've never met him in person, right?
No. I don't think I want to. He's a very big man. Very big man.
Would you say that Hayden and Vlad had a good relationship, co-parenting relationship?
You'd have to ask him that, but like every time that they're on FaceTime and Kaya, all that, I just kind of leave the room. That's their time.
So Hayden's mom, Leslie, who is estranged from Hayden, but was her manager for a very long time, she did an interview with the Daily Mail talking about one of the topics that Hayden mentioned in the book about being bisexual. Hayden had said that it was something that she had to keep secret, but Hayden's mom said that that was not the case, and she questioned the timing about Hayden talking about this now. Obviously, she's promoting a book. Did you know that Hayden was into women like that?
Yeah. Hayden is into beautiful people. I do have some things to say about Hayden's mom.
Listen to
Hayden's
this.
mother
Listen to this.
is by far one of the worst people I've ever met in my life. And, I just, I can't. I just can't with her. She's terrible.
Have you read Hayden's book? So what did you think?
Hayden's book's incredible.
Despite some of the, kind of rehashing some of the things that happened between you guys, you still thought it was good?
No, I think it's great. I think everyone should read it. I mean, the domestic violence stuff that I think is like 272, page 272, my chapter. Everybody should read it. Yeah.
How was it for you reading that?
But I mean, it was who wants to read something about themselves like that, right? But, you know, you got to be vulnerable. And, I did it. I did it. So, you know.
Was there anything before that you asked Hayden to keep out of the book?
Yeah.
What did you not want her to talk about in the book?
So there's a story where I was drunk, right? Aiden was standing across the room, and I had a phone in my hand, and I said, Hayden, I said, I'll give you 10 seconds to run as fast as you can before I throw it at you.
Yeah, that would be very tough to read about yourself, but also would be a horrific situation to be in as well.
Of course. Of course.
How has it been for your family? Are you nervous about your family reading the book and knowing all the details about what happened in your guys' relationship?
I already told my family about what I did, and I just want people to know. I mean, like, people do this all the time, It's like, you think I'm the only one that did that? No. People do that all the time. You saw Apex, right?
Yep.
Same damn thing, right? So it's sad.
You had mentioned the chapter about you and how, it's about domestic violence. Do you think this is an important chapter for not just survivors to read, but also for people that are abusers? Do you think it's important for both sides to be reading something like this?
I think it's more important for abusers. My biggest thing about domestic violence is I don't think it is taught early enough in life. Never in my life did I ever get taught what domestic violence was, right? Maybe if I did at an early age, maybe I wouldn't have done what I did. We don't know.
So, without putting into so many words, and we probably don't have to look up the history, I wonder if he's even military, if he's retired military in some way. But it sounds like, just from hearing Brian, he had a very domestic violent parenthood. What I mean by that is he had parents that also were, his father was probably very abusive, and he seen it as normal. You hear this all the time, literally all the time, where the parents, one or the other, the mom or the dad, is abusive in front of the child, and the child also grows up the same way, looking at it as very normal.
But it's one of those things to think about.
You and Hayden first started dating in 2018, and it's been a very public relationship. Is there anything you want people to know about you and Hayden's relationship?
Hayden Panettiere is the sweetest thing in the world. It's not about who you spend Saturday night with, it's who you spend all day Sunday with. And Hayden Panettiere is a Sunday girl.
Do you miss her?
I miss Hayden every day. Every day.
Do you think about getting back with her?
Of course. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't?
Do you have regrets in the relationship or wish that you did things differently? Because maybe there would be a different outcome right now.
Yeah, but all of them. I mean, I went into such a dark place, man. Drugs, alcohol, booze. Good God Almighty, she's 5'2" on paper, 4'11" in real life. I mean, come on. Terrible thing I did to her, but yeah, she's yeah, love of the life, love of the life. So yeah, you never know what happens.
Well, Brian, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate your time.
All right, darling. Have a good night.
I ain't gonna hold you. Brian literally sounds like one of them Southern sit on the porch, drink a beer.
Hayden Panettiere has
chat
had
with
a
the homies all
tragic
day.
life in Hollywood. She grew up.
Came on just so abruptly like that. Brian literally sounded like one of those guys just sit on the porch, drinking beer, watching the sunset. That's literally what Brian sounds like, just the old-fashioned Southern redneck that unfortunately had a redneck upbringing. And that upbringing was unfortunately a traumatizing experience later on in the future for both him and Hayden. And my take on this is, like I said before, Brian sounded like someone that was healed, but didn't necessarily still understand everything fully. He understood what he did was wrong, but he didn't necessarily, it didn't look like it was it didn't look like something that wouldn't happen again. You know what I mean? That's the biggest part of this. It doesn't look like something that would not happen again with him. Because he looks like he's still drinking. I didn't really hear too many parts of him saying, "Yo, I've been sober for this amount of time," or "I've been clean for this long." I didn't hear none of that. I looked at someone that looked like they just finished having a shot of vodka, or probably was sitting there with a Budweiser while he was doing the interview. That's what I saw when I see him. What happened was, what's going on? Nashville was your show? I said I didn't get a chance to look at a lot of her later work after Remember the Time, but Remember the Titan, excuse me. But like I said, I am very familiar with who she is from different, like I said, seeing her around in different interviews and things like that, and pictures and whatnot. Very familiar with who Hayden is. Now, of course, what was I gonna say? So with that, right, with the Brian Hickerson thing, my thing was, even the articles were saying that she was on and off again. They kept referring to him as the on and off again ex-boyfriend. So you know what that means, right? Like there's always, the door is always like, you see from the type of person Hayden is, she's a very accepting person of forgiveness, right? She is very willing to forgive anybody to keep them to keep them in her life, if you know what I mean. Those type of people, to where you can do no wrong to them, and even when you do wrong to them, if you're apologetic enough, they will let you back in. Hayden, unfortunately, I think was that type of person, to where I think that was part of her own demise, to where letting Brian back in is part of her demise today, because the 911 call, from what everyone's saying, is from Brian.
Everyone instant to respond for cardiac arrest. Justin Milwaukee, 701 East Labor Road, apartment 701 East Labor Road, apartment. Everyone instant to respond for cardiac arrest. Justin Milwaukee, 701 East Labor Road, apartment 701 East Labor Road, apartment. Central 1, minute 29 responding.
Central 1.
That's wrong, Central 1. Alpha 43, Central 1. Copy out 43.
Backtown, Medic 24 is available, staying downtown. Spawn in place of Medic 29. Easley Bridge Road, overdose. CPR is in progress.
That's affirmative. That's what we were given. Is that not correct?
Brian was the one that made the call to 911 to report she had an overdose. So she was with Brian at the time in South Carolina. It's where Brian and her were at, in South Carolina. Now, the other thing that was telling about this, and I don't know if I want to look at his first. Let me see. This is only 8 minutes, so yeah. This is an actual doctor that was, looking into things.
found dead at her home. It appears to have been an overdose. It's unclear whether it was an accidental or a suicide. But why I'm interested in this is that she was taking a drug that I called the celebrity killer. Now, this is a drug that has turned up in the deaths of multiple different celebrities, whether it's been Heath Ledger, Matthew Perry, or Chris Cornell. And so what we're going to be doing is looking at the events leading up to her death and talk about how this drug may have played a role. And quickly, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Joseph Wittering. I'm a psychiatrist and I'm an expert in psychiatric drug side effects. So let's start with who Hayden was. Well, she was a wildly successful American actor. She was in the show Nashville, and she'd also been acting since she was like 11 months old, something like that. She's very, very well known. However, sadly, for the last 10 years, she had been publicly suffering with addiction problems, which ultimately culminated her in being unable to safely care for her daughter, whom she voluntarily signed over custody to her daughter's father. Now, Hayden had a long history of addiction problems, and there are 3 drugs which really turned up in her story. That was Adderall, Klonopin, and opiates. So let's start talking about where the drive to take these drugs came from. Now, she's talked about this quite openly, that she was constantly judged about her appearance. You know, the paparazzi said terrible things about her having cellulite and things like that. And she said that she developed body dysmorphia because of that. And so when you're in the public eye so much, that's obviously a lot of pressure, and many people end up taking medications to mask that. Something else which happened when she was younger, because she was a teen idol, was that she was pressured to take Adderall for press conferences. She talked about this in her memoir, which came out earlier on this year. Her handlers essentially said, hey, take this Adderall, it'll make you more peppy and you'll do a better interview. And she credits this as the start of her relationship with using drugs to essentially control her mood and her emotions. Now, things really got bad in the middle of the 2010s when
It's crazy how even the doctor referred to them as a handler.
She had her child during the filming of Nashville. This was unexpected, and this was actually written into her character in the show, which I thought was very interesting. And she describes this whole time as being very isolated. Now, the father of her daughter is a very famous, well-known boxer from Ukraine, and he was actually away. He was away training a lot of the time. And so her daughter would be with the nanny, and she would be at work all day, and then she'd come back and she'd look after her daughter. And she just described this as being a very unnatural situation, that she was just very isolated, and she began to drink quite heavily during this time. And ultimately, this resulted in her going to rehab then. Now, interestingly, and this is just such a strange fact, Nashville, the show that she was working on, was aware that this was happening, and they started to write this into her character as well. So what was going on in her personal life, this postpartum depression and this alcoholism, was written into her character on the show, and she actually described that as being traumatic as well and being unable to escape that, but she felt like she couldn't push back against that because she didn't want to be labeled as being difficult to work with. And so we also kind of see maybe a little bit about this like personality structure. We see someone who's very eager to please, someone who really wants to be easy to work with, but it's at the expense of her boundaries, and that really causes her to suffer. And the last thing that I'll mention about her is that she actually ends up in a relationship with another man, and there are some physical abuse allegations there, and there's a restraining order also. And so very messy kind of life during this period of time. Now I want to jump in here and I want to talk about this quote from this People magazine article. So let's check it out here. It says, Hayden first entered treatment when Kayla was 4 months old and was diagnosed with postpartum depression. She was prescribed medications to help her cope, but the Star wrote that it created another problem. The medication kept her from cracking, she said, but they had a catch. If I didn't take them, I couldn't sleep. And if I did, I slept too much. I walked into rehab addicted to one substance. She's talking about the alcohol. And I walked out completely dependent on something else, she wrote. Hayden said taking Klonopin left her feeling like a zombie. At one point, she even woke up in a hospital after someone found her from work, asleep, and was unable to wake her. Now, why am I so interested in this drug, Klonopin? Well, I am because it's a drug that gradually makes people worse over time, and it turns up in the overdose deaths of a lot of celebrities.
Remember who was also on Klonopin at one point? Kanye.
Particularly when they're also taking opiates. And what we also know about Hayden is that she had back pain as well, and that back pain
Actually, I believe Britney Spears too
had recently gotten worse. And that's what TMZ reported in their article that came out earlier on today, that sources close to Hayden told TMZ that she had recently been complaining about back pain in the past year. Now, for someone who had a long history of using opiates for that back pain, you can assume that, hey, maybe she was taking opiates over the last year if her back pain was getting worse. Now, I want you to remember that because we're going to talk about the combination of benzodiazepines and opiates really soon. But before we do that, what I want you to be aware of is the fact that Klonopin, that's right, Klonopin, the drug that they gave her to get off the alcohol, can actually cause a whole host of problems long term. And many doctors do not recommend taking this drug long term. And even drug manufacturers, they put it in their labeling. They do not recommend this drug for long-term use for many people because you get dependent on it and it can also make you worse. So I want to have a look at this excerpt from the Maudsley Deprescribing Guidelines because it summarizes some of the long-term problems with Klonopin. So here's what it says. It says studies have reported increased levels of depression with chronic benzo users. Now, so Klonopin is a benzo, with one study finding that non-depressed patients who were administered benzos had a 4-fold higher chance of developing depression. It goes on to say that it's also associated with worsening anxiety in the long run, called benzodiazepine-induced hyperanxiogenesis, and with one case series showing 20% of patients on benzos developing agoraphobia after taking the benzos, which resolved upon cessation. Agoraphobia is where you become so anxious that you don't want to leave the house anymore. And I have to say, I see this with a lot of my patients.
So I'm wondering now if she was on these drugs to help with her anxiety of doing the book tour. Because that's the first thing that popped into my head is she's doing this promo book. She's doing promo for the book as well as she's never released one before. And it's a tell-all. She's probably on a high amount of anxiety. She probably has a high amount of anxiety. You see her crying damn near 99% of the interviews that she's doing, probably crying 99% of the time that she's even having to talk about the things in the memoir. Like, imagine having to talk about your traumatizing experiences, but you're using them to vent therapeutically, of course, but it's still fucking with you to even talk about these things over and over and over and over and over again just to sell a book.
My long-term benzo users, they come to me complaining of agoraphobia and obsessive thoughts, and they feel worse and worse over time. And so part of me wonders whether using these benzodiazepines to come off the alcohol and then relying on them long-term for her sleep problems may have made her worse. You know, we covered this exact scenario in a Heath Ledger video that I did just a week ago about how his chronic insomnia problems led to a benzodiazepine problem, and ultimately those drugs played a big part in his death because he was found to be taking 3 benzos at the time of his death. The other thing that I really want you to be aware of is this. If you are taking a drug like Klonopin and opiates at the same time, there's a huge risk that you're going to have an accidental overdose and die while you're asleep. So what you're looking at right now on the screen is the boxed warning. So the boxed warning is the strongest warning you can give a drug in the United States. And it says the concomitant use of benzos and opiates may result in profound sedation and respiratory depression, coma, and death. So what happens if you take these 2 sedative medications together? While you sleep, you stop breathing and you die. And so what happens, especially with people who have a history of addiction and maybe drinking a lot, which was what was happening with Hayden in the past, is they have a really bad day or they're in a lot of pain and it becomes so overwhelming they take more of their medication than they normally would, not wanting to die or hurt themselves or anything like that, but because they're on that lethal cocktail of medications, they end up accidentally overdosing and dying. And this happened with Matthew Perry because, you know, he had benzos and ketamine in his system when he died, and it also happened with Heath Ledger. And so what I'm going to be really interested in as this story unfolds is what were the medications that she was on at the end? Because recently she did this interview with Jay Shetty saying that, you know, she was really looking forward to this second chapter in her life. And so unless there was some big change in her life recently, that kind of suggests this wasn't a suicide, and it suggests that this may have been an accidental overdose. And if it was an accidental overdose and they find benzos and opiates on board, who was responsible for putting this young woman, this talented young woman who had a history of addiction, essentially on benzodiazepines and opiates together? Because that right there can be malpractice. And so I'm going to be following this case very closely. And if you want to hear more about stories just like this,
do not be surprised if it come out. I don't know what I just did just now, but do not be fucking surprised if it come out where he's talking about that those benzos are in her system, but do not be surprised that the mom has a relationship with that fucking doctor. Do not be surprised if either a Diana Jenkins or that mom has a relationship with the doctor that gave her those fucking opioids. I'm calling it now. When we find out the name of this doctor, I'm going to search and see if the mom or Diana got a relationship with this doctor. And if they do, trust me. Now, of course, I always say before, when we do these, we have to do the spiritual reading to hear from them themselves. Now, I took it upon myself to use Alexis K. Some of y'all are probably very familiar with Alexis K. Alexis K don't hold her tongue. Okay? She don't hold her tongue as far as what her readings are. And this particular reading set Alexis K off. Okay? So viewer discretion is advised on this one. I'll say that much. Because Alexis K had Hayden's spirit in the room with her. Hayden was giving her information. It's not like the typical readings where we hear the typical reading. Not like the other reading where we heard the voice of Celeste or even like Sloan Bella's reading. This is more of the person is there and they're talking to the actual spirit of the person. You're not going to see Hayden, of course, but I noticed that was another reason why Alexis K pretty much, she didn't come on camera this time. But notice a lot of her videos, she's on camera. This particular video, Hayden spirit was there and she didn't come on camera.
That you're here. I'm going to wait until I see someone in the live to let me know that you're here. And I'm going to do a brief reading on the celebrity. I always liked her, Hayden Panettiere. She's here. And I don't know. Let me know if y'all can hear me. Hi, Sarah, baby. Hi, beautiful girl. How are you doing? Oh, boy. Tired. I want to know. I don't know if y'all saw the celebrity, the cutest little thing, pretty little girl, Hayden Panettiere. I think I saw her a long time ago. I've been a fan for a while. I loved when she was in Nashville. I loved her, I think, in Bring It On. I didn't realize she had done some horror movies, too. From what I can see, she's been here all day. From what I can see, she is a sweet little girl, even though she's a grown woman. She has a sweet baby energy. She has a little girl energy. And I know what that feels like because she was never allowed to be a child. She's basically a wounded child inside of an adult body. And her mother didn't love her. Her mother and father didn't love her. She's been in here whispering. She's very kind of shy. She's not a wildcat or aggressive. She's not like her mother. It's like day and night, and I just been sitting with her because I wasn't sure. First, I didn't hear anything. Well, it was yesterday. I didn't hear anything, and I wasn't sure she wanted me. Yeah, she's not a bad person. I didn't see that movie. What movie was she in? Did she play the killer? I think they said her mother was a soap opera actress. Let me see. I saw the mother. Let me see. Details of a nightmare after son with Down syndrome was found trapped in D.C. Lord have mercy. She couldn't die, and she played in Heroes. Yep, I liked all of the roles that she played. You can still tell, no matter what role someone plays. Let me see. Her mother is Leslie Vogel, a former soap opera actress and producer. So I need to look at the mother. Oh boy, it's a sad story. Leslie, I kind of don't want to say these things, but I'm going to go ahead on and say these things because it's what the mother's 70 years old, baby. The mother's a motherfucker. Do you hear me? The mama ain't nothing nice. So, of course, this is all alleged. I don't know them. This is what I'm seeing, and that's what she's saying. The mama, devilish as hell and dirty as hell. I'm just going to put this out here. You read a book? Okay. Decently was, who is WLAD? Who is that? You said the only one that seemed to treat her decently was WLAD. I don't know who that is. Her mother had to, but what I will say is, the mother is demonic as hell. The mother is a high-ranking Illuminati witch and a handler. From what she's saying to me, her mama is treacherous as hell. The mama always have been treacherous, dirty, a liar, and manipulator. The mama suck a dick up, lay with men and women, was in sex orgies, demonic sex orgies, sold her soul for fame and fortune. The mother is a treacherous, lying, scheming, manipulative, cold, sadistic, narcissistic liar. The mama do anything with anybody to get ahead. A thief too. A thief, an embezzler, a compulsive liar, manipulative, and a coward. Get behind the scene, do this sleep with people, husband and wife, like group sex, just no morals. Her mother has no morals, no heart. She will do whatever she got to do to get what she wants and whatever she got to do to win. And she money hungry. She get money and then she blow it. Then she get in men's face, use her body and sex as a weapon. You sleep with her husband, friend. The husband ain't no good. Was manipulated by her. They fight like cats and dogs. And when she was little, before she was born, they fight. She fought because the daddy didn't have no money. She wanted, I don't know why she married him. I don't know what she thought. She wanted the life for the rich and the famous. The daddy couldn't give it to her. So she got out, laying up with all kind of men, telling all kind of lies in Hollywood and being on TV, sleeping with producers. Basically, anybody, that's how that game go. I see now. Anything they tell her to do, she went along with it. She wanted to be a huge TV star. I'm hearing Joan Crawford, and she wanted to be a major movie star, move into Hollywood. They wouldn't make her that, but she was a Hollywood slut. And then she was a recruiter. Come to the sex parties, recruit people to be in the sex party, raise up the energy. I mean, totally satanic as hell. The mama satanic as hell. And the daddy dirty and a liar and go along with it, where they have group sex and sleep, have friends come over. And when she was little, even at 8 months old, she sacrificed that girl up to Satan and was letting her be fondled and molested at 8 months old. Literally prostituting her children, selling her children. And she said that her brother, they was molesting him. Gay men was messing with him. The mama put him up to be sacrificed by gay men in the industry and fondle him and use him, abuse him and tell him he lying. Don't say nothing. Don't tell nobody. Got him on drugs. The mama is a drug addict. The mama a hypochondriac. I still sniffing powder, popping pills, and drinking. And so the daddy is too. I mean, just a big liar. They sat there and prostituted that girl and prostituted the boy to men in the industry and agents. Acting and modeling agents in the industry. She said, Hayden said she was messed with when she was a little girl. Her mom used to beat on her and push her around and insult her and degrade her because she was jealous of her. She wanted to be her. So since she done did everything but died in the Hollywood industry, and she still didn't become immortalized as a superstar. She wanted to do it through her daughter. So she never really gave a fuck about her daughter. She never loved her, liked her. She always had that girl scary and intimidated, because I believe this girl must have been an empath. She might have had premonitions or seen things or could feel things because she'd be scared. When she was little, she was scared to be in the dark. And real sensitive. Her mama would sucker punch her on the low and grit her teeth. Ella, now you're gonna read that again. You're gonna get it right. Ow, mommy, ow! You punch her on. What are y'all all right? Y'all girls all right? The daddy coming out. Yeah, I'm just working with a little Hayden, trying to get the little script right. Then leave, snort some dope, and then look, you're not gonna embarrass me. You're not gonna fuck this up for me. But I'm just like, fuck it up for you. I mean, she already had her chance, but she want to get back in the good graces of Hollywood by prostituting that little girl, sacrificing the little girl. So that way, if I got you in here, they see that you're my little girl. I get seen again. They might want me some parts. They don't want her woe out ass for no goddamn parts because I mean, once they done use her and they know she do in and everything. Look, you got some more young girls to bring. You got a stable of hoes to bring in here. You got somebody supposed to prostitute and sex traffic, and I keep hearing Epstein because that's what Hayden said, and said that the mama was fucking with Epstein and in them sex group and traveling around like on a sex tour, like they going on an acting tour, they going to the beach and shit. The mama handling other bitches and men, and then want to prostitute her son off to gay men, grown ass men, pedophile, trying to get him opportunity. That boy was so twisted and sick and fucked up and on all type of drugs and psychedelics to try to zone out. Then he see demons. I hear his ass. He see and hear demons on the other side. I see the horned God. They must have a ritual coming up right now because they sacrificed her. And the mama prostituted them children and telling that little boy, don't say that. That didn't happen. They didn't do that to him. Then get behind their back. Can I have my money? Literally selling her son behind. Selling his body and putting all kind of penises and shit all in that boy's mouth. And taking his soul out of him. Doing soul swapping and soul transfers on them children and on that little boy. And deep throwing that little boy. I mean, like he grown and shit. And that boy's like, I'm not gay. I don't want to be gay. Well, it's not gay or straight. It's not right or wrong. We just spending some time together. And then she's letting them just wash her son down naked and pay her and give her drugs. I mean, the mama gone. The mama is so gone. She always hated her daughter and stole her daughter money, used her, abused her, and talked about her to people and told people she had a mental problem. She was crazy. So that when she tried to tell what her daughter did, when nobody gonna believe her, and she said she was getting high early. The mother was giving her shit early and threatening her all the time. She was always stressed out, living on pins. And this mom was a drunk and a hoe and a drug addict. The mama rotten as hell. I'm trying to say this shit about this bitch without cussing because the way she in here talking to me, and one thing she did say, I said, damn, I thought only black people do that. She talking about, I know you can cook. I love your cooking. Can you make me some barbecue? And I said, I think another white person asked me what's up. I said, I looked at me. You want some barbecue? Yes, I love your barbecue. I said, you like barbecue? You like Southern food? Well, I want to try yours, and I want to make me some barbecue. I want some barbecue chicken. I said, okay. She said, with some peppers. I said, you eat barbecue? You eat Southern food? She's like, yeah, but I want you to make it for me. And she's like, and I know I can come here. I can tell you things. You'll say it for me because you're a warrior goddess. You have a warrior goddess energy. I was like, okay.
So crazy how it even sounded like Hayden. That's why I was able to believe it. It sounded just like something Hayden would say. It sounded just like it.
She said, and I waited, and she said I could go for some. What she said, Dad, like you go for some brisket. But she said Hayden was a method actor from things she said from time she did little girl method acting. Her mother made her hallucinate. She was already psychic. She's already empath. She could pick up things and see beings and entities she didn't understand. The mother's extremely jealous of her daughter. She hates her daughter. She didn't love her daughter. She wanted to be her daughter. She knew her daughter had that it factor and quality she don't have. So if she couldn't take it from her, she would do satanic rituals on that little girl and the brother and want to sell that little girl and then get her ritually sacrificed, get her ritually murdered for her money and her insurance money. She had a policy on her daughter right now and the son. She pushed that son to suicide. She's the type of bitch that she'll put them in acting, because I see the Baphomet inside of the mother's body, inside of Hayden. I see a demon on Hayden's face, along with the brothers. Induce that in them, start getting them molested early as babies, and then get all the money she can get out of them and make them act and abuse them to make them really good actors and beat them like a lot of people do, just like Michael Jackson said daddy did them, beat them and hit them dance steps. Her mama beat her ass to get them acting right and cry on cue and all that kind of shit. And then take her money, pay all her bills. The mama always went through money. It was never enough. It's me. It's I. When she get to the point where she ain't valuable no more, or she wore out and she was on drugs, she was kind of drunk. When she came in here, she just asked me for some look. I said, hey, then I don't have no vodka. I don't know if you're a white looking person or a brown looking person. I'm kind of seeing some of that white looker too in her. And I said, baby, I don't have no vodka in the house right now. She said, I just want to try. I said, okay. Okay, I'm not saying I won't get you none. I'm just saying, baby, I don't have none right now. And she just kept saying she wants something to eat. I said, okay. If you want to hit us and donate, I'm going to get you something. You know, we'll eat together. But she keeps saying the barbecue. So she wanted some Southern style. I'm going to cook some Southern style food. I said, I don't mind, baby. I'll cook you something. If you stay here and you want to talk to me, I'm not going to let nobody bother you. Clive Davis is in here with her for some reason too. So I'm wondering who she knows in the music industry or country music or anything like that. I'm waiting on him because you know him. I can imagine what he gonna fucking say. Okay, the mama then want the children sacrificed so she can act like a victim and cry and get my money. Yeah, bitch. Give me my motherfucking money. Your money is my motherfucking money. That's all her children was to her. Then she couldn't control the boy, couldn't get him straightened up off that dope and shit. So just basically said him, she put something around that boy to kill herself. Her and people in the industry go along with it. Was time to cash him in because you know, he riding, you know, he ain't right no more. She put him around that man she lived with, that first man beat her ass. That boxer that she got that baby with, she talking about him. He used to sit up and sneak and beat her ass and know how to hit her in a way where you couldn't see it and leave no marks. And that girl only look like she a $105 wet. Whoop her. You know, a lot of bigger people like to jump on smaller people or smaller women and shit, or even gay men to get a smaller gay man to beat them and shit. And she like to beat her and say he would whisper and intimidate her. That boxer. I said he took her little girl. She said, I didn't give my baby to him. They took her. They got me on dope. My mama got me on dope. She got with him. My mama sleep with any of my men. She'll sleep with my boyfriends to get double back, tell them one thing, tell me another, make them turn on me, hear them whooping my ass, and don't say nothing, and then tell them to give her a cut and stick it in her titties or up her pussy and snort it in her nose and pop it in her mouth. And Slick done shot up before. Said the mama real fucking dirty. She always don't want me to be happy, don't want nobody to love me, don't want me to be in love. She helped him take my baby to me. He threatened me and got me off with his family and told me I wouldn't leave, or I would leave in the box, or I wouldn't leave alive, and made me sign some papers. I didn't want to give my child away. They made me do it. They had me on drugs. Along with my mama, had people around me handling me. Said her mama done slept with that man she go with. He a drug addict and a junkie. Said he been beating her ass off and on and push her down and get in her face and threaten her. She said he sound like one of them creepy horror characters on one of them horror movies. He be threatening her and said his brother was fucking her. Said that, you know what? Said that him and his brother's junkies and the brother want her for themselves and get her high out her mind and run train on her. Said that they using and abusing her. People in the industry was raping her, using her, abusing her. She keep talking about Epstein Island. So it's a group of girls. They be prostitutes, so they know everything about you, your hair color, your age, your skin color, your eyes, your shoe size, your temperament, because they hook you up with a certain man that you will be more compatible with. Say he got black women's over there too. Say Epstein had black prostitutes over there and black, what they call them, like she said like a programmer. They have different races on, white ones and black ones, and they divide them by blonde hair, black hair, brunette, different color eyes, like on a Nazi type of agenda, but have you living on a boat based on the whatever the docking rules are in that country or that town. Let's say you got a boat, but you don't have to pay as much taxes on a boat if it's in the water as opposed to on land. And there are certain maritime laws or things you can get away with water law, and land law is different. And said that she didn't want to do it. Said some of the stuff when she tried to show it to me, she might be talking there and she was like, yeah, and I was drinking, and while I was sitting there, I wasn't drinking, and then I was sitting there, and all of a sudden I was drunk, or I was laying down. My head is, an alien. Oh, I'm sleeping with an alien. I said, oh Lord, this baby high. Oh my God. 1 minute she said she okay, then she started to see spaceship on Bankhead. Oh God. So some of it she tried to tell me, and you said, no, it wasn't the boxer. It was another guy who beat her. And no, I'm saying what I said. The boxer did do it. I'm saying what I said. The boxer that she had a baby by was beating her. And that's the one had the baby by. He threatened her and threatened to kill her. Had a group of people would have made her sign papers. I'm not taking back nothing I said. Even if you said she didn't say it. I know what she's saying to me. I'm not correcting my reading because you said that I'm wrong. I'm willing to be wrong. But what I believe that is her that told me this. She said the boxer did do it. And I looked at him, and I looked in his eyes, and I looked at his face. He's abusive. And he abused her. They would have knockdown, drag out fights. She would run from him, and he would chase her because he was stronger than her, and he could hit harder than her. I know what she told me. He took her baby. He threatened to kill her. They threatened to jam her up so she couldn't go back to the U.S. Now, I said what the fuck I said, and I don't care what she said in the book. I don't care what the fuck you read. It was more than one person beat her. Now, I haven't read her books. So if you say, because let me go back and read this shit. You said, no, it wasn't the boxer. I was another guy who beat her. In fact, the guy that found her body today. The boxer wasn't on.
Just think about that interesting fact she just said. That's another confirmation that you know that Alexis K is doing an actual reading with Hayden's spirit. She had no knowledge of what Hayden put in her book and yet said all that. And everything that she just said damn near sounding like a replica of Hayden's interview. Does it not? Without her looking at a single interview or reading her memoir, she's able to tell the exact same things that Hayden has said in these interviews.
Only person from her book who was kind. Really? Well, if he was so fucking kind, why did he take her baby? Because they try to say she gave the baby to him because of her lifestyle. She was an addict. But these people around her, including her mom, helped make her a goddamn addict. He was abusive to her. They didn't get along. He took her baby, even if she was a fucking drug addict and a goddamn drunk. I know why she was, because they made her like that. And her mama, they put handles around that girl to get her on that shit and to block her jobs and block her opportunities because she wasn't selling pussy like they wanted her to. And when she did do some of that shit, they was drugging her and they was forcing their goddamn self on her and putting her in a position where she had to do it to get some money and get her ass back home. Now, I said what the fuck I said. You can try to say he was kind, all the fuck you want to do. But I know what she telling me in the spirit. She's right here in my motherfucking house. And ain't no man kind to you that's supposed to be marrying you and then decide not to marry you, get a baby by you, you got addictions and problems, and then he take your motherfucking baby and extorted her. He gave her a godfather kind of deal. I don't care what you say. I'm going by what the spirit telling me. He gave her the kind of deal, like in the movie The Godfather. It's either you sign this or your brains on the fucking contract. They extorted her and threatened her, put her in a position where she had to fucking sign that contract. She had to sign over rights to her fucking child. How is that nice to her? Do you have proof of what the fuck you saying? Now, anybody that listens to my goddamn spiritual reading, if you can find the proof of it, you know how we get down. Find it and let me know, am I lying on her boxer fiance who got her daughter? Or am I fucking telling the truth? Because I'm going to stand on what the fuck I believe this spirit of this woman in my house is telling me. He would secretly abuse her. He would physically assault her. But he didn't do it in a way so she had big black eyes or busted lips. And he would secretly threaten her and intimidate her. And that's how he got a fucking daughter from her. So, you can prove me wrong? God damn it, prove me wrong. But I ain't taking back what the fuck I'm saying in this reading. Oh, you were doing the reading, honey? You must be new here. You must be new here. Maybe this ain't the place for you. Because I do readings on the dead all the time. So if you didn't know that, you must not be a part of the collective. You must not be a part of the family. Because you telling me no don't mean a goddamn thing. What you saying, Destiny Child? I said no. He said yeah. I don't give a fuck about none of that over here. This is my goddamn world. This is my motherfucking island, goddamn it. In the dirty South. They say they don't see one. You can look, it's on the news. And the toxicology ain't gonna be back. They said about 3 months she was drugged. And she said that man that she with and his brother had been sexually abusing her. Her boyfriend and the brother is a straight up fucking junkie and a drunk. And they over there raping her, having turn in her ass. Got them doing romper room and musical chair in her ass. So he done sat on her, choked her, told her ain't nobody gonna want her, where you gonna go, what you gonna do, lock her up like a prisoner in the house and shit and whoop her ass. I mean, she telling me all to say him and the goddamn brother. So the mama talked to her boyfriend. The boyfriend is a handler. She done sick the boyfriend on Hayden to spy and tell what's going on and go back and tell the mama. And she told her to kill her ass because the bitch talked too much. I didn't never like this bitch no way because she's always jealous of her daughter. She said she never liked her daughter. She said she know her mama didn't like her. She was scared of her mama because her mama was vicious. Now she hate her mama. She don't want shit to do with her mama. Her mama talk about her like a goddamn dog. She been doing that since she was little and turning men on her and having two-faced ass men. They sick. Somebody dealing with the law enforcement. Somebody dealing with entertainment and Illuminati and dealing with the mama. They all triangulated her and she told them to kill this bitch because the bitch talked too goddamn much. I'm tired of this bitch trying to ruin everything I do. All she was for me is a meal chick any goddamn way. She knew that they were going to kill that girl this goddamn weekend in the Lionsgate in the summer solstice and shit, moving in type of a war and shit and she hated her. Both they did not get along. The mama sicked them up to kill her this past goddamn it weekend. Now the mama is with him. He go back. He's somebody else in the industry. This man weak that she was going with. He a spy. He a agent. He was put on her to twist her life up, fuck her life up, keep her discombobulated because she was weak in the goddamn head and really didn't know who she was. You seen her up there hopping and shit. I seen her on a crutch and shit. She said he had pushed her motherfucking ass down. And she said, oh, it was me because I had these addiction and shit. And I was goddamn lie. So they get high together. Said he would lure her into the shit. And thank you, swim. And beat her ass and choke her. So he had pushed her down. So she fell down some goddamn step. She was drunk, didn't know how to get up. Said he kicked her when she tried to get up, had her high. She can't really see nothing because she's like hallucinating. Then they had some doctors give her some pills and to sleep and just to zone out and stay high because she was depressed. You know, getting her these rehab drug and shit. The mama know about that. The mama got a lot of connection. The mama's a dope dealer, a goddamn hoe, and a pimp. She be pimping and shit. But she done kind of got old or got out the loop and shit. She knew she was gonna cash her in because she was tired of her daughter because the daughter done got out of hand. And the daughter don't wanna, she know you get in here, you're gonna suck some dick, you're gonna get fucked. Basically, they weren't really interested in giving Hayden, even though she's still relatively young in that industry. They really wanted to use her and her ad, prostitute her, spread. That's what a lot of them actresses do. You don't see them. They ain't got no major TV. They ain't got no major movie. They ain't got no major show of their own and shit. They fucking. They yacht girl. They bottle girls and shit. They call girls for the rich. She keeps saying Epstein. One of her, look, she know Epstein. Because she keep bringing him up. The mama definitely is an old trick. The mama ain't new to it. The mama true to it. And shit, they wanted her on that circuit traveling around the world. They would have gave her contracts and makeup deals and different things, but like Victoria's Secrets and all them, but she would have had to lay up. She was like, the thought of it turned my stomach. I just don't want to do that. I don't want to be like that. I didn't want to go there. And she's like, I didn't want to die. I didn't overdose. I didn't kill myself. Brian said, he did it to me. Him and his brother came in there and seen it. They moved me around. They staged the scene. He let me stay there because they told him to do it. He let me die. He made sure that I died and had a heart attack. She said, I don't want to die. And then he got on the phone and he talked to my mama, talked to my dad. Said he talked to different people. Said it was two men and a woman. So let me go get my goddamn card. Goddamn it. Get my goddamn card, because this motherfucker done called me a goddamn liar and said that I'm up there just talking like I set up and the information I got, I read the goddamn tabloid and I listened to E-News and what that man name over there, Harold, what his name, that they always had a death and I was like, I done went and read something and then you come here critique me. God, this motherfucker called me a goddamn liar. He said, no, 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 no. I said, yeah. Fucking talking to me, goddammit. And well, hopefully Hayden made proper estate of rent. I don't know. Because it don't matter if the fuck she did. If somebody else got access to it, they done already went there and changed it. The mama done changed it, and the mama still gonna get her goddamn cut. Got a separate cut, a separate policy. Different policy she had on her, she would look, because she already know there was going to be a sacrifice lamb. There was going to be a sacrificial baby. And that boy was too. They killed her goddamn brother first. That's what they going to say. Wait a minute, this white boy done came here named Aaron. Remember, I did read on him a long time ago. I forgot his name, what group he was with. I think his first name was Aaron. He was a part of a group or something, and he was a singer long time ago. Real talented white boy. And remember they said he OD'd in the house. They had to go get him out the house. Remember he came in here and told me a lot of shit. He done popped up too and said they had sacrificed him. Yeah, he agreed with what I'm saying about Hayden. He know Hayden. I forgot his last name. Y'all probably, yes, Aaron Carter. He done came up. Said that, yeah, her birthday in a couple days. He in here. I just got chilled. So they did it to him. I think then one of his brothers or sisters died too. He said it's the same kind of goddamn situation. The mama is a high-ranking witch. He just told me walked in the Witch Mountain. The mama done been to Witch Mountain and sacrificed her soul. You said Nick Carter, okay, from Blackstreet. Well, okay, he here. And he agreed and said them sacrifice babies, them money babies, them business babies, them contract babies. That's all they doing when they career get low. Them parents will have them a baby like that. To try to live through them and sacrifice them, keep making their money because they blow their money. The mama's a junkie and a hoe. The faster she get, the faster she blow through her hand and she use her child. And they said her dad ain't no goddamn good either. Him and her, her mom and daddy fight like cats and dogs. They were fighting and fucking around on each other. So they couldn't control the mama and her behind. She do anything, any goddamn day, night, or any goddamn time. What happened to Hayden? Did this boyfriend she with this junkie and this drunk and this brother? Because she's telling me both of them. It said it was a woman in the house too. They looking at it, this stage, the scene, it was a mess. Cleaned it up, moved her around, the lies they telling, called Hayden mama, goddamn it, and the daddy. They knew about this shit before the ambulance got there. Then they said it was, TMZ said it was 2 ambulances. They said it must have been for 2 people, but one person, see, that's the up was above, so below. One person got in it. The second person didn't get in. It was him, goddamn. They both in there on that shit. He done gave her a separate dose of other drug to make her pass out, go like a semi-comatose state, opioid too, because they said they had Narcan at the goddamn scene. And they couldn't resuscitate her. So they did a special advanced treatment trying to get her resuscitated, and it didn't work because they made sure before they called her ass was good and goddamn it dead. She was so high and so deep on that shit. There was 2 women there, goddamn it. It was 2 women. She comes up as the queen of cups. This other one is a high priestess. So you mean you had a witch or a high-ranking fucking psychic over there that know or somebody live across that hall, or a handler or a friend of theirs that live in that complex right goddamn it next door across how to help him set that shit up, because he was fucking somebody else down there, goddamn it. He was fucking them in that building and talking to the fucking mammy. They had done got to fighting and got in the argument, and she wanted to get the fuck away from him. She didn't want nothing to do with him, and she was trying to decide what I'm going to do, or she wanted to go, because you got the food, the 5 of wands here, and the 4 cups. She didn't want nothing else to do with this motherfucker. She was tired of him. There was a group of them that got to fighting down there. He decided he going to hem her in, because the mama and the other handlers and somebody in law enforcement killed this bitch. We'll cover this shit up, because she got to go. They set her ass up down now. Now, I'm going to come back later on and wait to see what I see as time go on and weeks go on. She comes up as a hangman here. And there's another woman here that's a mother that was celebrating and rejoicing behind this shit because she's the hangman. They lied, cheated, and they stole from her. Stole money from her and some property. They took some from her house and staged that murder scene, moved her body, positioned her, laid her out, to try to make it look like she did this to herself. She always do this shit. Y'all know she a junkie. Everybody know it. She done said it. She was in rehab. Then she got a demon mask on her face. As young and pretty as she is, every time I look at her, I see an old woman in a hag. I said, who is that? What demon you wearing? She said, you want to think of shit? Baal and Satan. I just seen Anton LaVey. Somebody's a high-ranking Satanist, a part of the Church of Satan. Anton LaVey, in that industry, they put him on her. She's walking around with a demon on her. That's why she is an addict like that. Miserable and fucking depressed like that. Oh my God, I gotta do something right quick. I'll come back.
Okay, now, so you heard pretty much from the spirit of Hayden what actually happened to her, and that she was pretty much set up. She was pretty much set up to be there and die. And the drugs that were given to her, as you just heard from the doctor also, the drugs that were even given to her. Remember what I kept saying? We're going to eventually hear about the doctor that gave her the drugs that led up to her death. And we're going to find out that doctor has a relationship with either Diana Jenkins or the mom, Leslie Vogel. Now, I saw some interesting things on Leslie Vogel's Instagram just now while we were listening to The Spirit. And it caught my attention of some of the things that she has on here. I noticed she only has, 939 followers, but so it's not so many people looking at her Instagram, which was also very, telling. But I started noticing looking at her art that she did. And I couldn't help but notice some Michael Jackson-esque things and some references that were very foretelling as well, like this one here, which, if you remember, Hayden actually spoke about her being 12 years old and having an identity crisis. And look what she called this painting: Identity Crisis. It's crazy. Someone put this on comments. Crisis as in my mom is a piece of shit and now I have to figure it out while she makes money off me alive and dead. She didn't even comment about that. So I'm seeing what? There's hidden comments on here? This artwork is as terrible as your ability to be a decent mom. That's great. And see, this is why I wanted to look at the Instagram now, because I have a feeling her mom's Instagram is going to be deactivated soon. I guarantee you she's going to deactivate the Instagram, especially after this week. I guarantee you this mom is going to disappear somehow. But this particular picture with the Eye of Horus in it, the TV representing someone that was being manipulated, what is this? That's S&M, or I can't figure out what this is right here. That's something. That's MSN. MN. I can't figure out what this is right here. But it was just, like I said, certain things. The craters right here. Looks like someone's brain slobbing in the Illuminati, taking over the mind. To see behind the walls. Like this whole thing right here, like I said, her art on this Instagram is very telling to what the lady was even saying about, her mom having Masonic ties. And then there was this video that I saw pop up. Now, this is from a couple of years ago, but you don't have a picture. Of course, you don't have a video of Brian, but you definitely have Vladimir Klitschko, who was just, representing Ukrainian Independence Day. You're sharing Vladimir Klitschko, and the lady also said that Vladimir helped the mom set up the death that happened in South Carolina. Vladimir also arranged the taking of custody of the child. They forced her to sign away the child. And to see Klitschko on the page, remember, Brian is the one that hates the mom. Okay? Brian is the one that hates the mom along with a few other people. So for Vladimir and the mom to have a good relationship is a little bit telling, whereas no one else in her family or her immediate surroundings has a good relationship with the mom or thinks the mom is a piece of shit. That was very telling to me. That Vladimir, of all people, is on her page. Now, I noticed there's also a website that was titled Hayden's Closet, but it was supposedly, it looks like it's something about Save the Ocean. But let me see what this website looks like. This Hayden's Closet website. Is it still up? Is this website still up? I want to see. Okay, so the page is gone. The domain has expired. But as you can see here, they were promoting this website called Hayden's Closet, but this doesn't look like anything to do with saving the oceans, does it? And it looks, for the price of a pair of shoes, saving our oceans, one-time purchase at a time. This, I don't know if this is promoting something for her mom as far as clothing and whatnot, but this doesn't look like anything about Save the Oceans. Like, none of this, the oceans take care of us. This part, of course, did, but this didn't. Now, this is 2017. So we're still talking about, what, a 25-ish? 24, 25-ish, Hayden, right? Like I said, none of these ads say anything about her trying to promote anything like positive, or so I say. It looks like if anything, she's just trying to make money off selling off her daughter. Again, this is the mom's Instagram. Like, what is Hayden in the bikini got to do with saving the fucking ocean? I feel like I need to put that. What does her in a bikini got to do with saving the ocean? I must ask that. What does her in a bikini have to do with saving the ocean and pollution in it? What does this have to do with anything of that? Again, this more confirms the mom trying to make money off of Hayden, but also selling her in sexy images. Just foul. Just all around foul. Like, all that just speaks opportunist to me when I see things like that. And like I said, from the Illuminati picture, even this right here that she took when she was in Spain. This one almost was, see, art is not what you see, but what you make. See, Jansen Rain Panettiere Art Foundation. So it's named after her son that passed away, the Art Foundation. But this particular picture of a blonde, I almost want to say blonde girl. It what'd she call it? COVID something? She called this COVID confliction, I believe, was the original name of this piece. But the blonde hair in the open on the mind with someone that looks like they're confused and crying at the same time, who does that resemble? Like, your art, your representation of your daughter, how you were selling, pretty much your daughter to try to say you're saving the ocean. Did this save the ocean thing with sexy pics of Hayden is no different than the Room 23 catalog. This is no different than the Room 23 catalog. When I see things like this, this just screams Room 23 to me. Yes, justice for Hayden. Justice for Hayden, yo. Mo, you asked me earlier, did I see Superman, or maybe the Fantastic Four famous people were kidnapped, put in the cubes? That's Superman. That is Superman. And on the next pod, we are gonna talk more about the state of consciousness and Agartha, which could be, the real place of where we actually die. Because there's a drawing that someone did of when they had actually passed away, and it looks similar to the state of consciousness and to Agartha. But once again, rest in peace to Hayden Panettiere. In this interview, she also spoke about, I didn't think it was necessarily important to highlight, but she also did mention towards the end here that there was a stalker that recently got out of jail. Very recently got out of jail. Prior to her doing this interview, and that stalker had actually, been threatening to kill her, even showing up at different places. She had physically seen who this person was, but she never actually identified the name. The name that the FBI had has not been disclosed either, which is fairly odd to me. You would think the stalker of a celebrity, his name would be out there, but it's not out there. It's even odder to me, like Desiree Perez's stalker, the name isn't out there. And I'm like, why wouldn't you want the name of the stalker of someone trying to kill someone out there? Like, what? That doesn't make any sense to me. So her stalker actually was let out of jail recently, prior to her even doing this interview here. And she said it was a very scary experience, even knowing that he had recently been let out of jail because he had only been put on, I think it was like 3 years in probation. He got 3 years in probation for stalking and threatening to kill her. So for someone like that to be out on the streets on top of, so again, we're talking about somebody that was going through a lot mentally before they passed away. And the drug overdose was one of the key things that people started to point out, saying, hey, okay, we've seen this song and Pony show before, and the jig is up. The jig is up with you guys sacrificing and killing off celebrities for your own personal benefits, and majority of the time we also see that it's for the parents' financial benefits. It's never for the financial benefit, or should I say, it's never the benefit of the person that passed. It's always the benefit of the person that caused it. And there's more evidence than anything that the mom was a piece of shit to her daughter, saw nothing but a check for her daughter. That's all she saw her daughter as, was a check at the end of the day. And for her last words to her daughter to be, you owe me, on top of all the things that have been said about her, Brian Hickerson, the ex-boyfriend that she had went back to and obviously felt some type of safe around, the fact that she went to South Carolina to promote the book, where he had stayed at the apartment. A lot of people had already speculated that he was around, but TMZ confirmed it, that in other sources, he can confirm that he was actually staying at the apartment as well, where she had passed away. So, again, confirms that he was the one that made the 911 call. But I think Brian is actually being framed, or going to be framed, for the murder of Hayden Panettiere, or if they're going to leave it ruled as an accidental homicide, accidental overdose. If they leave it as an accidental overdose, then of course what they said before, which was, as the reading said, Brian pretty much just let her die because he was paid off to do that. Brian was, you can tell Brian was high as fuck when he did the TMZ interview. He was high, drunk, whatever the fuck. He was definitely not sober doing the TMZ interview. So that was already telling before that he himself, was definitely aiding Hayden in her drug overdose that actually happened. He was actually helping that actually happen. He was helping the drug overdose happen without knowing he was helping the drug overdose happen, if you get what I mean. Him being there to administer the drugs was part of the plan. And it sounds like there was more than one person involved in the death of Hayden Panettiere, which we've now found out, okay, the mom definitely has something to do with this because of the "you owe me," as well as the smear campaign. We didn't get into it. We don't have time to right now, but the smear campaign that the mom did in May when the book first came out is also very telling. She tried to pretty much she tried to sabotage the selling of Hayden's book in the very beginning. The mom is confirmed trying to sabotage the campaign of the book. Now, the other person that obviously has something to, motive to kill Hayden would be Diana Jenkins, allegedly. And that would be because of the different items that we found out about the past between Diana Jenkins and Hayden Panettiere, and the fact that this memoir now is out. Diana Jenkins has done nothing but try to clear her name of anything. And the biggest thing she keeps saying is that she wasn't the one that introduced her to James Blunt on the yacht, even though we have very credible pictures. We don't necessarily have to say that you weren't there on the yacht with her. We see the fucking pictures on top of Room 23, which was your project, and Room 23 was allegedly a bunch of call girls and clients in the book. So we pretty much have broken down what has happened to, unfortunately, Hayden Panettiere. She was set up to be killed as another Masonic sacrifice for the benefit of the mom, more than likely, and Diana Jenkins. Those two specifically. And the helpers and handlers of this were allegedly Vladimir Klitschko and Brian Hickerson, unfortunately, which I think Brian didn't necessarily want to do this. I don't think Brian wanted her to die. I think Brian was just paid off enough to shut up. I think Brian is the type of person, Brian, you could literally see from him not having a lot of finances himself, you can definitely tell that all you had to do was just give him a little bit of hush money. And this all goes away for him. Because he can easily be threatened like, well, look, either you let her die or we make it look like you killed her. And in the heat of the moment, I guarantee you he chose the other one. Because he damn sure didn't want to sit with the guilt of I killed her. But we're talking about 4 different people that have yet to say anything about her death. I ain't seen a Vladimir Klitschko tribute. I ain't seen a mom tribute. I ain't seen a Diana Jenkins tribute. I ain't seen a Brian Hickerson tribute just yet. And I'm probably thinking Brian is probably going to be the first out of all 4 of them to even make a tribute. And the other 3 aren't. I would hope Vladimir does for the sake of their daughter. Which might be a publicist move that he makes a statement because they have a daughter together. He might be forced to make that statement. But we can already tell the 2 people that I think have the biggest motive to remove Hayden, which was her mom and Diana. Because you have the can of worms with Room 23 and the human trafficking. And then you have the mom who feels very entitled, who called her daughter entitled, which was even more disgusting, who feels very entitled to the royalties of Hayden Panettiere. Rest in peace and my condolences to Hayden Panettiere. I would say condolences to the family, but we all have seen now the family wasn't the safest place for her, as well as there was the brother who passed away 3 years ago. That's all the parents had left was Hayden. For them no longer to have either one of their childs in their lives, this is very telling, like I said, of who the mother is. So I will leave you guys with that. And I will be back tomorrow for Marvel Rivals, as well as I think the next day I'm just going to take some time to do the videos. What is tomorrow? Tomorrow's fucking Tuesday, I think, right? Tomorrow's Tuesday. So, yeah. Wednesday and Thursday, I'm going to try to do some videos. I will be streaming as well. Yeah, I'll be streaming tomorrow. And Thursday, I'll be back again for another stream. And then Friday, I'll probably spin the block again and talk some more in between us doing the gaming streaming and put out some more videos. You guys got me all week. There'll probably be one day you don't see me stream, but the rest of the week you do see my black ass. So it's 3:00 in the morning here, 4 in the morning for some of y'all. Once again, rest in peace to Hayden Panettiere. Very sad story. Unfortunate upbringing, but I am glad and happy to say that you are at least, I hope, at somewhat peace wherever you are right now. We love you and miss you. And as a fellow Leo, I wish I had the opportunity to personally know you and give you the uplifting and safety and security that no one was able to give you. Rest in peace to Hayden Panettiere. Keep your third eye open and your head on the swivel. In fact, it's never fiction. I bid you all adieu. Until next time. Peace.
Know what it is you really do.
A bullshit, a bullshit, a bullshit, a bullshit.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.